think my camera's a bit off. Hang on. There we go. You can see me now. Yeah, that's good. Where's my chat gone? Oh, there it is. Hello. Welcome to Tuesday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Let's just get my mic in a nice position. Hopefully you can hear me well. It looks like my levels are all right. How is everything, everybody? How's everybody doing? I've had a weird couple of days, but I'm not going to go into it. It's fine. It's been a bit of personal stuff, but it's been a weird couple of days, to say the least. Also, I picked up this wine out of the wine rack. Yes, I have a wine rack. Of course, I've got a wine rack. It's me, right? And it's been leaking, so I picked it up and I put the bottle down. And I realised I thought my hand was pissing with blood, but it wasn't. It was red wine all over it, so it's been leaking a little bit, which means underneath the wine rack there's probably a puddle of wine somewhere. In fact, I can see it all over the desk. God damn it, that's annoying. Hang on, let me just get a tissue to wipe that up. One sec. Right back, guys. Keep yourself entertained. I can tell I'm slacking because I'm using a tissue to mop this up and not my tongue, so... It's not a desk, it's a coffee table, so... But yeah, you can see. Yeah, look, loads of it. So I don't know what happened to it, but obviously I made a bit of a mess with it. Let's get my cushion. It's comfortable. Right, there we go. Are you sitting comfortably? Let's begin. Right, I'm drinking some cider tonight, and I'm also going to drink wine tonight because I want to make up for Saturday, where I managed to 2 cans of cider last the entire night, which is a bit of a slacking manoeuvre from me. So, let me just make sure my chat's up to date. Internet fine, world shit. Yeah, definitely. Well, actually, the internet wasn't fine today because freaking Discord went down. Discord and Spotify both went down. Spotify I don't really care too much about, but Discord I do. But we're here now. And we're running, and I managed to post that I was streaming, so that's good. I got a new keyboard as well. I've posted it in Discord, so I don't know if you guys can see, but it's the MKB87 that I said I was going to get, the keyboard PCB. It's got black switches throughout. It's set for the spacebar, escape button, tab, caps lock, scroll lock, and enter. They've all got blue switches on, so it's a nice clicky clacky sound. And then I've got Echo chocolate keycaps on the top. And it's brilliant. I love it. It's even nicer than the Keychron. I liked the Keychron, but this is nicer, and it feels really retro as well. I would have liked more of a kind of curved profile, but this is really, really nice. So I'm pleased. I've finally found a keyboard I think I'm going to stick with. And to be honest, the last one was possibly the best I'd had so far. So the fact that we're moving towards better and better all the time is really good. So, but yeah, very, very, very nice keyboard. I definitely recommend it if you don't mind building your own keyboards. Super easy to do. They supply all the switches. I happen to have some blue switches as well, so I mixed it up a little bit just to give the kind of clicky sound. You probably won't be able to hear it. I've got a clicky sound on my caps lock, which now I don't know if I've got caps on. I do have caps on. There we go. It's Bluetooth. It's got nice kind of color backlight as well. You can change the backlight. I've got orange on at the moment, but it's really nice. I like it. It's got a better Bluetooth than the Keychron. So the Keychron, when it's idle for long enough, it will kind of turn off the Bluetooth. So you have to press a key, then the one key will flash like twice, and then it will start responding to key presses. Whereas this seems to buffer the key presses while it turns the Bluetooth back on. So whatever you press will immediately be transmitted to the computer once you connect. So that's kind of nice. It's a nice feature. Definitely an improvement over the other one. The only thing I don't like about this is it's the American layout. not a huge problem. I can get used to the layout. The only thing that bugs me about the American layout is the enter key is really small. They, for some reason, they make that backslash button big, instead of just extending the enter key up there, which I do prefer the European way of doing that. So, yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? That enter key that's just, it doesn't feel right. Because I kind of tend to I bang that whole thing over that side. So there's going to be a lot of backslashes get typed tonight, and I accidentally press it instead of pressing enter. So, but other than that, I just have to get used to the you know, I mean, the two keys that matter the most are the at key, that and the hash key. They've been swapped around, which also means the double quote isn't in the same place, and I don't have the pound sign anymore. The pound sign is replaced by the pound sign because the Americans call hash the pound sign for some reason. I don't know why. So tonight we're going to do Cecconoid. As ever, we're just going to carry on with that tonight. I am going to be doing a game stream at some point. I was thinking about this random game thing. I was going to wait until I got my other computer set up, but I'm gonna hang off because I've got a friend coming down in a couple of about 2 months' time, and I want to teach him how to do hardline water cool kind of, you know, hard pipe bending and stuff. So I'm gonna save that till he comes down. However, I am going to set the second capture card up through my current PC and still get all the consoles through it. So we will do some random games from the shelves behind. I posted the list of games in Discord. I might actually make a channel, like a collector's channel or something, where you can post your collection. If anybody else uses collectors.com, you can post it on there. It just so that people can put their collections on. Not really for discussing them. I'll remove any discussions from there. Just a list of links to people's collections. I don't know if does anybody else actually use that, collectors.com. So let me show you what it is for those who haven't seen it. So it's a little website that allows you to put all your games in, and your platforms, and it's really good because what it lets you do is it lets you do barcode scanning as well. So if you get like a big collection of games all in one go, you can just beep beep scan them, and they get added in there as well. Obviously, that's only going to work for relatively new stuff. I mean, things like loose Famicom carts, it's not going to work for because they don't have barcodes. So I spent a stream putting stuff in. Yeah, it's good. I really like it. I really, really like it. To the point where I've paid for it now. So I started with the trial, and I've just paid for it because I quite like it. But one thing it lets you do is it lets you share those links as well. So I can share this link, and people can, they can have a look at what I've added in like recently and stuff. And it's nice. It's a nice little thing. So yeah, I'll be sharing that. I'll create a collection channel. We'll put that stuff in there. But this is what we'll be using because every game gets assigned a number. I don't know where it is actually in here, but every game does get assigned a number as you enter it in. So like the first game you enter in gets number 1, and so on. So we'll be able to pick a random number and then see the game. I don't know if I see it just by clicking. Yeah, I see number 321. There you go. I don't know how we can. I'll have to figure out how to create a list that I can kind of grab from. But Darren saying he'll create a shop where you can see all his collected games that account. Okay, cool. But yeah, well, we'll be doing that. I've got a few more games coming. I've got about another 40 or 50 games coming this week, so it's going to be a few more added onto it. I'm going to be adding PlayStation Portable games on, and I've got a PSP video out as well, so I should be able to stream that from the device to the TV and to the Twitch channel as well. So that should be pretty good. Should be interesting actually. I think we'll definitely find some janky games in there. As I was saying to Andy, there'd be some really funny games, I imagine, in the Famicom system. There's going to be games in here I have no clue how to play. Because they're all going to be completely in Japanese. They're going to be RPGs. They're going to be text heavy, like this one here. I know it's going to be text heavy. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least. But we'll spend a stream playing whatever game gets picked. So Uh, it's kind of about yeah. So we are going to play all of these on original hardware as well. The only exceptions are going to be PlayStation 1 and 2 and PlayStation 4. They'll be played through the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 3. Still technically running on original hardware, but not running on the original PS1. So PS3 will play PS1 and PS2 games, and the PS5 will play PS4 games. So it won't be fully original, but it will not be emulated. It will be original software running through the original kind of through the original consoles themselves, through composite and stuff. All right, let's give you all some points and let's crack on with tonight. So I've had a bit of a think about how we're going to do things tonight, because we had a little discussion, very short discussion, in chat about no, I haven't got any of the home computers as such in there at the moment. Really, my collection is mostly consoles. There is a few exceptions that won't be going in here. So Dreamcast won't be going in because I removed the CD drive from the Dreamcast to put an SD card reader in. GameCube probably won't be going in, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that. I may change my mind at some point. So yeah, I don't know. But if I've got the console, I'll be buying stuff for it. I have most of them now, I think. I don't have a Master System, so I need to get that at some point. But yeah, we'll just add them in as we see. It all depends on shelf space as well. CD32, yeah, I mean that's not a bad idea actually. CD32, I would go for if I could get hold of a decent one, a decent price as well, because they can be quite expensive, those things. The problem is as well finding the software. I need to be able to find the software, which is going to be difficult. The thing with everything on this list here is they're relatively easy to buy the software for these online from various places, or to go down to CEX and buy them as well. Although, to be honest, anything older than like PlayStation 3 is probably going to be difficult to get CEX. You're not going to get the odd copy here and there. Yeah, they are really expensive, but I would do one. Same with the 3DO as well. I think if I could find a decent price 3DO, I'd do one, because 3DO would be really easy to collect everything for. Oh, the other one I don't have actually is a Sega Saturn. I did have one, but I think Sean has still got that. So maybe I will get one of them at some point. But for now, my main concern is I want to collect all the PlayStation games. So if it came out on a PlayStation, I want it. So if anybody does know if anybody's selling any PlayStation games on any of the PlayStations, let me know, and I'll try and do a deal with them. Okay, let me start the races for you all, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do tonight. So let's start by running the game. I will have to turn the music off on the game, I think. Not that you'll hear it, but I'm going to hear it. So I did notice one small issue that I need to solve, which is the music is glitching between screens sometimes. It seems to be related to filters. I need to work out what to do there. I'm thinking maybe to use CIA timers to do it. I'll have to do some experiments with it, but I won't do that on stream because it's going to be one of the few things I don't do on stream, because the music is kind of secret at the moment. You've heard a little bit of it a few months ago, but the majority of it I want to keep a secret because it is very good, and I think it would be nice to have at least one surprise in there. So I will keep that secret, and I will just do the audio work off stream. It shouldn't be too difficult. So tonight we're going to work on the screens as we've been doing. We're just going to keep working through the screens, and the next thing we need to do is the enemies on. Actually, I've got quite a way to go to get to this screen. Let's actually get to it. Oh, damn it. No. Oh, fucking hell. All right. Right. Okay. So I made a video of this the other night when we'd finished on Saturday. It was really hard to play through without dying. In fact, I think I still died on the Robotron screen. But I just wanted to make a fairly decent video of it. So, some news about sound effects. Yes, it's unlikely we're going to get this the thing redone in Goat Tracker. There seems to be some kind of feeling that it wouldn't save very much. I mean, personally, I disagree. I think it would save more than I think is being suggested it would save in terms of cycles. But I'm not gonna push to have it changed. That's down to the publisher. It's disappointing, but it's. I may have a look to see if I can insert sound effects into the player itself. It may be that I can kind of do some modifications of the player to add that. So it's a bit of a shame, but I'm not gonna kind of put pressure on Jason to basically redo the work all again. But what I will going forward, if I do make another game with a third-party musician, which is very likely. I mean, I'm not going to do the music myself, I don't think. Then I will ensure that it's done with Goat Tracker. It's going to be the absolute requirement. If it's not done with Goat Tracker, it needs to at least be done with something that's as fast and has sound effects support. So a switch between music and sound effects is possible. The only problem with that is I would still have to load in. I mean, it could be done dynamically, no problem, but I would still have to load a different player in for that to work. So I'm not going to say no at all. It's likely to happen. In fact, I suspect it's probably going to be a requirement from Thalamus, but yeah, I mean, it's just it's one for the end. Let's get it working first. But yeah, I what I really want to do is find a hack for the player. If I can find a hack for the player that will allow me to play sound effects at the same time, then that's what I will go for. It does mean I'd have to create a sound effects player myself. Because I don't have room to insert a copy of Goat Tracker in there. At least I don't think so. I might be wrong. There might be just enough room to fit Goat Tracker in there. But it would have to be done in a way that they would work together, and that's going to be difficult. So, you can always turn on music on another player, but not so. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So my idea would be that we, if I can get it to work, and we want music or sound effects, then there'll be a third option for music and sound effects, and each one of them will load a different music player. So music on its own will just load the SID player, the iPad SID player player. Sound effects on its own will just load the Goat Tracker player. Asking for both of them would load a kind of hybrid version, which would be both of the players, but modified so that one didn't play a particular channel if the other one was playing sound. So there'd be a modification in there as well. Also, ship channel as MP3 with the cartridges downloaded. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. But anyway, that's going to be something for the end. I'm not too worried about it now. Likewise with the glitching of the sound between the screens, there's not really a lot I can do about it at the moment. Anything I do is not going to be a huge change to the architecture. It simply can't be. I mean, for the game to work the way it's working, it has to load the way it's doing. So there's not going to be any dual SID problem. That's not a bad idea, actually. If you've got dual SID, then you can have sound effects and music. Actually, that you joke, but that's probably a good solution. Detect if there's a second SID. If there is a second SID, offer the option of music and sound effects, and they just have both players. I'm sure we can squeeze enough space to get, because I think the Goat Tracker player itself is quite small. It's the data that makes the sounds and the tables and the patterns that take up the space. So we could, in theory, probably squeeze the Goat Tracker player in somewhere. Sound effects are quite small files anyway. They're not huge files, and then work with that. So this is the screen we're on at the moment. This is the screen we need to work on. I'm going to get it to spawn us. I'll get it to spawn us here because we can always just kind of nip off the screen and back again if we need to kind of boot everything up. Yeah, I actually really like that dual SID idea, SP. I think I'm probably going to try for that. Because if I can find room to fit it in, then it really doesn't matter at all. Because all I have to do is create two sound effects players, one that plays the sound effects on SID 2, one that plays the sound effects on SID 1, and just load in whichever one. If you just sound effects on your own, SID 1, music and sound effects, SID 2. Okay, so we got some enemies on this screen. So I was thinking a lot about this because the idea was kind of banded about that this could be done with the entity script. And the more and more I thought about it, I thought, no, it's probably not suitable for the entity script. And I'll tell you why. The entity script is more about doing things that kind of take an existing entity and is there a standard address for SID2? No, unfortunately. There are some SID addresses which are common, but I don't think it's consistent. You would have to check certain things. You can do some checks to figure out if there is a SID there or not. I don't think it's consistent, so you would have to check. Yeah, so the entity script is more about taking an entity behavior that's kind of set in stone, i.e. a force field, which with the force field, let's go in this screen because we've got the rest turned off. A force field by default looks like this. You enter the screen, it's on, it stays on. We can turn it on and off with a switch, for instance, and we would have a piece of code attached to that. But if we wanted to do something like this that was timer-based, that was a kind of a pattern over time, then that's something that we'd either have to write a piece of code specifically for this screen for, or use entity script, which is actually doing the same thing, just compressing it down a little bit. So my idea would be to take the what's that? Follow. Thank you very much for the. Oh, I missed the resub as well. Thank you for the resub, Mad Beagle. Appreciate it, and thank you, Golden Pants 1986 for the follow. Golden Pants 1986. So that makes you 36 this year, if you're not already. Cool. Anyway, welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. So the reason why I don't think that really applies to these enemies is because these enemies basically have one behavior, and that behavior doesn't really change over time. There's nothing about that behavior that means that they need to change at any point on the screen. So they're basically they look like Pokemon balls, actually Pokeballs, and they kind of bounce around the screen while flashing red. They bounce off everything on the screen except these kind of passable areas. So what I'm going to suggest instead is we have an enemy sprite system. So the enemy sprite system is going to be quite basic. Basically, you add an enemy sprite, you tell it what the sprite is. In fact, I'm sure it would be persistence data. It would have to be persistence data. Oh shit, yeah, that's the point. It would have to be persistence data. So maybe this needs to be something we configure through the map data somehow. All right, we'll think about that when we get to it. But the point is, it would have to be persistence data. Or it could actually be persistence data outside of the normal map persist data. But basically, every enemy is going to have a few things that are the same. It's going to have a sprite, an initial position, and a number of hit points. So these are some things that we can initialize the enemy sprite with. So when you enter the screen, it's going to initialize the enemy sprite. Now, we can store those hit points in the screen data. So we've got screen data. We've got these two files for this screen. So we've got this one that has the persistence data from the mapping. This is terminated with an FF here, but there is nothing stopping us adding additional persistence stuff here that's specific just to this screen. That's perfectly fine for us to do. So we could say enemy HP, for instance, and then add. There you go. So now we've got 3 enemies with 5 HP each. And because this is not the dynamic code, this will be persistent. Perfectly fine for us to do it like that. Then what we can do is in the dynamic code, we can initialize an enemy sprite like this, right? So we can pass in call it add enemy sprite. I'm going to just, I mean, it's not going to work because we don't have this function, but I'm just going to show you what I mean. So we pass an X position in, pass a Y position in, pass a sprite pointer in. So now this has got, and a hit points. And this would be taken from here. We can even, just pass an address in so that it grabs that, right? So that would be so this would be enough to position the enemy on the screen. But what I suggest we do is we add behaviors. That way we can keep the add in the enemy sprite consistent. We can keep the add enemy sprite consistent, and we can add behaviors individually. That means if a sprite on one screen just bounces off stuff, it could just have the I don't know, behavior bounce, whatever it is, yeah. And this would be the enemy number here. So this would be enemy sprite 0, and this is what it would do. It would just do the bounce. And that way, if we want to make it bounce, but also want it to shoot at the enemy, shoot player, we can add stuff in as we go along. Spelling God's my lights reader. So that's my idea here, and then it's a pretty simple task of just calling enemy update. If the enemy needs to do something different, so if the enemy needs to do something that isn't just a simple behavior like a bounce or whatever, then we can have an entity script. So there is a screen, for instance, where one kind of moves around a block. Could maybe make that a behavior, but it's probably easier just to make it an entity script. So the entity script would say, move this enemy this many in this direction, and just keep doing that until the time is right. Same way we do the pause, basically. And that would work by having you'd have two commands. You'd have a command which sets the direction and speed. So you say set direction and speed and a value, and then another command which is repeat X times, and then you change the direction and speed, repeat X time. That way you can make the move in any kind of crazy path you want. When it's a kind of path like that, it's a pattern, right? It's not something that's easily calculated just from screen data. It's something that's more of a pattern. Those are the times when I think the entity script will be useful, and that's where we'll try to make. Thought they also changed direction midair. I don't think so. Let's have a look at them. If they do change direction midair, then that's different. But I think they just bounce off everything. What is this tune? Okay, I'm skipping this. I don't like this tune. Sorry, whoever picked it. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought they would change when they hit walls. I didn't think it was anything other than that. It seemed to be a pretty simple behavior. Oh no! Look at it. Watch that one. That one actually did do a weird movement. Maybe it bounced off the other one or something. But keep your eye on the far right one. Did it change because it's being shot? Okay, let's have a look at that again. I think it's when it gets shot. If you shoot it, it moves in the direction you shot it. Yeah. Okay, that's fine as well. So that's now. Did it change both directions? Did it change direction Is it always away from the bullet, or did it? Okay, let's. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll let's go into settings and set the speed to half speed. Okay, so let's have a look what happens when we get to that position. It just changes if it gets hit. Okay, cool. So in that case, this is where the behavior system comes in handy. So this would be yeah. I mean, we basically we can chain these behaviors together. So look like reflection angle of bullet. Oh, okay. That might be a bit more complicated. I don't think we need to go that far though. I think we're probably all right with. Oh, the other thing we need to do is make this door come down. So we need to add doors as well in this one. Yeah, because this one here seems to behave strangely. No, it seems to do a little bit more. All right, let's add the door on first because that needs doing, and then we'll have a think about how that should work. So let's pause that, minimize. Let's add the door in. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm suggesting is some behaviors like that, but we can always. It doesn't have to be spot on as long as it feels. Like I say, it's all about the difficulty curve. If that movement increases the difficulty for some reason or makes it easier for some reason, then we need to do that as well. I think it's probably easy enough to just do a bounce and a directional change, and it will seem close enough. But we'll see what we can do when we get to it. Let's add the doors in first because that's kind of important. So let's take a screen that also has doors that close behind us, which is screen 12, I believe, has a door which closes behind us. Just copy that. We'll leave the enemy HP in there. But you see how we have some kind of persistent state in here anyway. Yeah, that is spelt wrong, isn't it? It should be that, or should it? I don't know. Whatever. It's probably an American spelling again. Okay, so we'll keep the door closed in there, and then we'll take a look at how we're actually doing it. So, is this the right screen? Maybe it's not the right screen. Add door. Oh yeah, add door. Yeah, that's right. Oh, it just starts closed. Simple as that. All right. And let's open this so we can work out where we are. There we go. And that screen is 11 down. Okay, so 11. Oops. Let's do it at the end here. And then we need, I think it was, pretty much all we need really is a doors update. I don't think we need anything else. The doors update's not going to do anything really. It's just going to return straight away, but it needs to be there in case we need to open. You do like the fans art screen? Yeah, they do look pretty neat now. It is with E. Is there am I just spelling it wrong? Is there no American spelling of it? The music started again. Hang on, where's the music starting? Oh, because I didn't close this one. All right. And let me start it on the right screen. So we'll start on 24. which is that one. Yeah, they do add a lot to the feeling of the game. So I'm surprised they weren't used more in the screens. Like when we were counting the screens that they were in, I honestly thought it was going to be more. So, okay, so that's actually too far down. Oh, wait, have I miscounted something here? Oh, I've counted another row. Okay, so it should be two. So it's actually the same as the last screen. So I just want to test as well. We'll start on the previous screens that we can move over to that, just to make sure that that door closes properly behind us. I mean, there isn't even an animation. It should just be there, I think. Yeah, it's as soon as you go through, it's closed. So, well, we need to look at how. Well, actually, let's see what we've done on the other screen. On screen, well, screen 12 is the screen I'm looking at. Wait, why is door state there like that? Screen 12 dot door state it needs to be. All right, screen. Oh, wrong. Gotta stop getting these two mixed up. Screen 24. All right, let's try that. We can animate that in. Yeah, it's easy enough to do. Use AntiScript to close it after half a second. Yep, there you go. There's a perfect. Oh, yeah, exactly. Perfect use of it. Perfect use of it. And that would be a really easy thing to add in. Door state. It needs to be. But again, that only needs to be the first time you go in the screen. So it's. Yeah, let's just see what it does first, and then thing. I think we can definitely do it because you can have the AntiScript close the door, but if the door's already closed, it wouldn't do anything. So you could just start the persistent state with it open, and then have the AntiScript do it. We also need a no. I was thinking of this as well, and I'll explain what I was thinking about the terminate opcodes as well. Yeah, so it's not. Oh, actually, it prints one too many rows for some reason. Ooh, why does it do that? That's weird. We might not do that if we do the. Let me just go off this screen and back on it again. That's interesting. Doesn't do that on other screens. Is it smaller, that one, for some reason? No, it can't be because there's. It's ending at the. All right, well. Okay, so so regarding the terminator, in fact, we can do this now because we're going to be doing it. So at the moment, we're using this as our jump to script position. So what I was thinking is. Because we don't use this byte at all. Nothing. We don't use this nibble at all. So I was thinking if we had something like that, that could be script terminator, and so on and so on and so on. That way, we can put all our 2 byte opcodes here, which gives us more down here. Anytime there's a param, we just use these values. Anytime there's no param, we can, or the param is in the second byte, we can use these values down here. I was also thinking as well that the sort of thing we could do is, well, we could do it in here. It would be like enter enemy mode, and that would mean all the commands following would be well, it's an enemy block, let's call it. All the following commands would be related to just enemies instead, meaning we wouldn't have to have separate things for each of the enemy things. You would just have, you could reuse these values basically. But yeah, let's add a terminate script in. So terminate script, what do we need to do? We need to know if it's running or not. So, or we can just have a terminate script can just eternally just sit on that thing. Why would you use the entity for the Robotron chars? No, because they've got a consistent behavior. They're just it's only when there's something that follows a pattern that's kind of based on time. So if it's got a behavior that's just follow the player or bounce off the walls, then it doesn't need an entity script. That's something that can be handled with a generic piece of code. If it's something that needs to be based on a timer, then yes, it can be. It can and probably should use the entity scripts to do that. So we shall start. So let me put the right window on here. We shall start by implementing that command. So we're going to implement that. I'm going to call this flow control here because this could be anything now. Actually, you know what? For now, I'm not going to do that. For now, I'm going to keep it on a separate thing, unless we need more. But if we need more, this is the sort of thing we can do. We can reuse those. For now, to keep it performant, I'm not going to do this. I'm only going to do it if I need the opcodes to do it, which I don't at the moment. So. Because we can still have like 0D means enter enemy mode sort of thing, and yeah, so it's fine. All right, so we'll have terminate script instead. It's going to be this one. Try and keep all these on separate things. So terminate. Now the script counter is going to keep going. This is going to keep calling. So the easiest way to do this is to just have a reset the program counter, so have a script active flag here. Or you can just jump back to, no, let's just jump to the same position. That's probably easier. Don't even need that. So we just have command and that way it's always just going to keep reading that terminate command. So it's never going. It's basically going to freeze on that thing. Hey, Thalamus. Terminate. Is Proton here, or is somebody's put this on? Good tunes, anyway. Let's see. Right, there we go. So now we can terminate a script because we're going to need that for. He is here. Okay. Hey, Proton. I thought so because I could hear the your Nemo cover. Might as well put this on down here now. So the knots are just there to soak up the kind of commands that don't exist yet. So terminate literally just exits. That's all it does. Doesn't change any program count or anything. Just immediately exits. So it's the fastest of all the commands. But it just enters like an infinite loop at that point. Come on, get brighter. There we go. Okay. So let's think about how we would do this. Okay, so let's use screen 23 as an example. 23 dynamic. So here's our entity script for screen 23. Let's just copy that over. Don't need all of this, but at all. But let's copy it over anyway. So what will we need to do? Okay, so we need to basically wait half a second or so and close door. So we're going to have... can't be toggle door. It has to be closed door in this case. So door number. And doesn't need anything else. That's kind of it, right? It doesn't need to do anything more than that. Maybe half a second pause. Well, 2.25 is fine. Possibly yes, but in doing that, what we would have to do is we would have to have in where is it? Wherever the entity script's gone. We'd have to have a check in here then that checks if the script is active. So it's an additional check every frame, which I don't really want to do, because every command would then have a few extra cycles on it, whereas this would just be, in the case of a terminate, it's just going to constantly run that terminate command, which is just going to do nothing. Updating your video, however, a bit unlucky with VGA to HDMI adapter. VGA to HDMI adapter. I would use... Well, I've got an OSSC to do that, so look into that if you don't mind spending the money on one. Cheaper than a FrameMeister, though. I don't even know if a FrameMeister does VGA, actually. So yes, Nicomo, you're right. Ideally, it should stop the script, but FrameMeister does everything. Yeah. The OSSC is really good, though. I mean, it does everything pretty much that the FrameMeister does at a fraction of the price. Anyway, and it does it without a frame buffer as well. I don't know if the FrameMeister does. I think it does do it without a frame buffer as well. So there's no lag in the conversion, which is nice. So yeah. Anyway, that's why I don't want to add that in, because there would be an extra check. It would only be like 5 cycles or something like that, but it would mean there would be 5 cycles on added to every command, and we're trying to keep this efficient. I don't mind that the terminate command just enters an infinite loop. That's fine by me. Absolutely fine by me. You're running a script anyway, so you're expected to take a hit per frame on the scripts running. So the fact that the last thing the script does is just run a very short command that actually, just returns straight away is fine. Okay, so we need a door close mechanic. So let's take a look at the rest of the initialization. So we're adding the screen with the door state, with the door closed already. So let's start with the door open. And let's add some stuff in to make it close. Let's get rid of everything we don't need in here. Let's see, maybe don't execute entity when door is closed. Can we do that as well? I think we can, can't we? Because we can do this, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's the way to do it. I like that idea. I think I need to grab that again. I don't think it's going to be enough to... So I'll have to grab it again from there, so... little note above as well. And I'll give you 5 points for that. So yeah, who did this tune as well? Skipping that one. Sorry. You guys are picking some naff tunes tonight. Oh, why is it? God damn it. Okay, cool. So now all we need to do is implement this closed door. So it's going to entity scripts. And we need to add closed door. Right, so that needs to be a new thing in here. So we don't need an open the door at the moment because we don't have one. But if we do, then we will add it in at 04. So I'll leave that. Just in case we do need it. But I'm not going to implement it right now. Told you I was going to press that backslash. Oh, we put on entertainer on. Who is that? Andy. Right. You dared me. Okay, so open door is, I will put it in here because it's kind of where it is logically in the, let's make sure these are in the logical order that matches the command numbers up there, with the exception of not. So this is a closed door. Yes, get RAM, which I think gets it in the accumulator, doesn't it? Yeah, it gets it in the accumulator. Hey, now do we need to actually call it in? Yeah, we probably should put this routine indoors. But essentially, it will just be. Actually, we don't really need to do it indoors, do we? We can do it in here because it's just a data object in here. Next state, basically. Doors.data.next state. Yeah. Should be enough. Doesn't need anything special. The door already handles the kind of the animations, so we don't need to do anything special. We just need to say it's next state. That should be enough, I think. Let's give it a try. I'm sure we'll find something not building properly in here. No, it seems to have built. Oh, no, there we go. ES closed door. Macro ES closed door is not defined. Okay, it should be. Did I not save it? Entity scripts. Yes. Oh, no, I haven't added it in here. That's why. Okay. And actually, this should probably be max. We have a max force fields value. And if we do we have a max? I guess it's in here, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, that's fine, though. Oh, no, because it's going to be force field dot. Oh, no, that should. Oh, it's a constant, though. It doesn't matter anyway. I'll leave it as 15. Because I mean, the technique is a valid value. It's just the doors won't be there. So, and this would be bytes. This is toggle force field now, isn't it? Hang on, have I got this right? So it's toggle force field closed door. All right, so these numbers were wrong. So this should be 2, 3. All right. Oh my god, I'm actually struggling to use the keyboard now because it's different. Yeah, it does depend. That's why I'm not gonna change it. So because there's like a global max value, but I mean the script is you're gonna know on the screen that you're writing if the value is right anyway. So no, because toggle door would then reopen the door, right? Although if the screen is already closed, I'll leave it as closed for now. If I need to make it toggle, I will. But I'll leave it as closed for now, just because it makes it explicit on this screen what's happening. But it wouldn't really matter if it was toggle, because if it was toggle, the door would close, and then the next time you ran the script, it would already be closed, so it wouldn't do anything. So it should be fine. Let's try again. But at the moment, we don't need to open a door based on a timer. So I'm perfectly happy to leave it just as that. It would be a small change to make it toggle though, so if we need to, it's easy enough. It seemed to happen immediately, didn't it? Or did it? Let's put a break in the time. Yeah, the door state is persistent, yeah. So you can tell when you haven't got the speed boost because you can't get through here quite as fast. Okay, immediately closed, isn't it? That's not right. There's something weird going on here. Door is open, yes. Set the state of the door to door open. Yes. Let's just get rid of that for a second. Add door. The door state. Okay. I mean, this should be. Should be right. The entity script should be waiting. Skynet 060, thank you very much for the follow. I hope you're not here to nuke us all. Skynet, it's a bit worrying at the moment. A script is only called when the door is open, but why is the door not starting open? That's the problem here. The door should be starting open. I mean, let's just get rid of that for a second. The door should be starting open, and it's not. It's starting closed. Screen 23. Wait, there's a door on screen 23? Oh no, there's a script on screen 23. No, it's not. Good point. However, the door it should be starting with the door closed, with the door open, and it's not. So before we do that, I'll put it in. But before we do that, we need to know why it's not starting with the. Let me give you some points because you've said a few good things, and I've said I was giving you points, and I didn't give you any points. There you go. Let's get some more wine in me. Yeah, that's what I need. And yeah, to answer SP, the door is the script is only called if the door is open. But for some reason, it starts with the door closed, and it shouldn't be doing. When we initialize that door, when we do this, it should be starting it in a closed state. Screen 24, door state. Screen 24, door state, byte, door open. Let's just manually put that in, just make sure. Oh my god. Yeah, I need to get used to the keyboard. I really like the feel of it though, so I'm going to persevere and get used to it. Mixing cider and wine, but I mean, they both come from fruit, right? They'll be fine. It wouldn't be the first time anyway, so. I've only got to work tomorrow, I'll be fine. Okay, now it starts open, which makes me think I'm doing something wrong somewhere. Byte, door open. Oh. I'm a moron. I had that in there. That was the problem. Which might explain why the door was doing something weird, because instead of drawing the door, it was had some other value in there. So this might work now. So I put quite a slow timer on it, so. Still need to fix that sprite glitch on this screen, but I say we'll come back and polish all these at some. That's better. Yay! There we go. In fact, that timing was pretty good, but let's make sure we can't go back through the door, because it's going to be important that you can't go back through it as soon as you come in. So. Wait, is there any? Does that door reopen? Does this door reopen at any point? Because if so, then we probably need to have an extra state in here or something, like door unlocked or something. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I didn't try it either, did I? I was too busy talking. We'll try again. Because if you come back that way, because there is that force field you need to get through, right? So there's got to be a point at which you come back and the swarm is active. So I feel like you're gonna. Oh no, you come up through the bottom, don't you? It doesn't. You come up through the bottom. So on this screen, so on here you go through this way, but on the way back you come this way through this force field. So I don't think that door will reopen. So that's why that force field is down there, to stop you getting down into that section. Right. So as soon as I go in here, I need to try and go back. I can get stuck in the door. All right. So I need to time that a bit quicker. Let's reduce it down to the lowest to make sure that's fine. And if make it as kind of slow or as possible. So. Okay, so. Oh. I triggered the back before I even went through. Yeah, the enemies on this screen behave erratically. So I think what we've decided as the kind of the basic behavior for now, anyway. Obviously, it needs looking at to see if it's acceptable as a behavior. Is that they bounce around the screen, kind of like an Arcanoid ball, Arcanoid ball. But when you shoot them, they change directions. That would seem to be close enough. Oh, actually, is it a case of where you hit them depends on how it it changes. Let's make it so they bounce around first and that you can destroy them. That's the first thing. We can add additional behaviors to them later. But let's work on getting a basic enemy sprite set up, and then we can kind of work out what to do with the rest there. People never learn. That was some fast modding as well. Well done, whoever did that. I saw that come up and then immediately disappeared. Well done. Yeah, see, they're on that screen as well. Let's watch what happens on this screen. Maybe they're a bit easier to spot. So they're definitely bouncing around. They do bounce off each other, which might be difficult to do. But they do get stuck in there as well. I'm not saying it would be impossible to make them bounce off each other, but it's another performance-hungry thing. So we might have to find a compromise here. Yeah, they do seem to have erratic behaviors, don't they? They change direction when you hit them. And I think it just randomly picks a direction. I think when you hit it, it picks one of the compass coordinates and then moves on that. Although look at that one shaking like crazy. Interesting. Seems like they shake multiple hits. Okay, so let's. Direction is based on reflecting angle of bullet. So if the okay, so kind of like snooker basically. So they're being treated like snooker balls. Shaking like a shallon on a Sunday morning. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to have to make some compromises here. So I guess the key here is what makes these enemies difficult. What makes them interesting and difficult. They might not be that difficult. They don't seem that difficult, but what makes them unpredictable, if you like. So there are passable areas on this screen. Yes, I know there are a few on that screen. That's fine. We're not on that one yet, but when we get to it, it should be easier. There's 2 on this screen, so I don't know if that's passable. I don't think it is. But there's this one and this one here. Should be easy. Should just be able to define them, and they just work. So thankfully, passable areas never cross each other. The closest they come to that is on the secret on the first or second screen. All right, let's just add basic behaviors in then for them. And we'll update as we go along. So we're just going to add... Well, first of all, we need the sprites for them. So let's... let's draw that sprite. I have the power of skip. Okay, so do we count this as a base sprite? How many sprites have we got? Probably not, because we've got... Actually, those aren't in yet, so these ones here could probably be moved. Oh, we've already got one there. There we go. Don't need to do anything. It's already there. Okay, so I'm going to shift that up into that corner. Just makes the... Actually, no, we'll shift it up like that because it's 16 by 16. So it should be... Is it 16 by 16? I think it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it should be easy to work out. It's a bounding box in terms of characters. And then the rest will do... No more Panimos. Did Les Dawson right? That's it. It does sound like something we need, right? Yeah. I think it is based on that sketch he did, didn't it? Yeah, they're Pokeballs, aren't they? It's definitely what it is. Definitely a Pokeball. Okay, right. Let's go ahead. So we don't need that. We've already got the sprite here, which is good. Let's save that sprite set out. In-game base sprites. Yep. And what sprite number are we in here? We are sprite number 0B, and that starts at 40, so it'd be 4B, sprite 4B. All right. Cool. All right. So, enemies. Enemies can be dynamic code as well. I don't see any reason why they don't need to be dynamic code. I was thinking more about the way the dynamic code works, and I think I am gonna have a system where you can import the dynamic code to any of the few areas that we have, so you can juggle things about. I won't implement that until we get to a point where there's a clash and there's no easy way of juggling things around, and then at that point we'll add the ability to load another version of laser which loads in at a different address, for instance. So for now, we will just utilize the area that we've got to do enemies. We're going to put enemies at let's see what we got. Force field, swarm, aim turrets. Let's put the enemies at. Let's put them at E800. Now the thing with this is we're going to be able to load in behaviors on top as well. Can't click semi dynamically change the offset. So we can change where they load, but the problem is the code's going to be assembled with. You need that during runtime. Yeah, the problem is you need it. Yeah, during runtime, and it's not going to be able to do that. So what I'm suggesting is that we have, for instance, something like that, and you can just load in the one you want, and then the code itself. Actually, it's not going to work either, is it? I need to have a think about it. I need to have a think about how it's going to work, but it will be something along those lines, and then you'll just have to how you reference those addresses may change on a per screen basis. I need to think about it a bit more, but it will be along those lines. Right, so let's create an enemies file in here. So for now, we'll put the behaviors in here. If the behaviors get to the point where they're taking up a lot of space, I don't think they will. I think they'll be quite basic. Could it be possible to exchange dynamic code while it is used? Exchange dynamic code while it's used. Oh, you mean while you're in that area? I don't know. I've never tried. I don't think we'll need it. I think it'll be fine. We'll. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole of kind of creating stuff that we might not require just yet. So, because then we spent so long doing this so far. I want to get to the point where the entire game is playable, and then worry about everything else. If we get to the point where we absolutely have to have a piece of code loaded into two different places depending on the screen, then we'll address it. But yeah, I'm not sure if it would be fast enough. I think it is pretty fast, but the problem is we're not. You could probably do it with static banks. Like you could load a static bank in, and then it would just be a couple of cycles for it to be available. But we're not doing that. We're copying the code from one location to another, and that is not that fast. So I don't think it would completely work. But if you use like static banks, so we use static banks for map data. So the map data is never copied anywhere. It's just banked in, read, and then banked out again, which makes it fairly quick. Okay, so we're loading in enemies. We're loading in enemies. Enemies is here, and now all we need to do is make sure we import it when we require it here. God damn it. There we go. Right. No, it's CPU copied. Yeah. Unfortunately, the cartridges don't provide DMA. You need an REU to do that. I'm sure at some point down the road, somebody's going to design a cart with DMA built in. They're going to build something based on the REU. I can absolutely see that happening, but as it stands right now, I don't think it does. Unless Gmod 3 does, I don't think it does, and I don't know when that's coming. But yeah, it's going to be too slow. There's a reason why there's a little pause between each screen, because it is dynamically copying quite a bit of data. I mean, it's not super slow, but it's going to be too slow to switch code out on the fly while it's running. That would be kind of difficult. Okay, so loading the enemies. All right, cool. And we know all this is working. So all we need to do now is we need to add the enemies. So we're going to add enemies using something like this. So we'll start by just adding an enemy on the screen. Then when we've got the enemy on the screen, we will add. We won't even add a behavior. We'll just add the enemy on the screen. Hey Warlock. Yeah, for real-time code switch, no, I don't think it's gonna work. It would be nice actually if there was a way. Well, I mean, you could do it, but you would only have ROM code, and you'd have to use the ROM, the cartridge ROM area for your code. And unfortunately, we already use that area for the map data and other stuff. So it's not going to work for us at the moment. There's also a sneaky. You could technically use it for doing. Oh no, you couldn't, because the VIC. I'm not sure how the VIC would see. VIC would probably see cartridge ROM. I don't know how the VIC works with cartridge ROM, or if it sees the RAM. I think it would still see the RAM underneath. So, yeah. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, unfortunately, the C64 has got a really weird way of handling cartridges, and it's a hangover from the Commodore Max system. They didn't change it very much when they did the C64. They basically, or the VIC-20 for that matter, but they basically took the was it Ultimax or whatever it's called. They took that format and just kept reusing it, and unfortunately, it does make things a little bit tricky. For one, if you want 16 kilobytes, it's split over two banks. Well, on Gmod. No, on Easy Flash, it's split over. There's loads of cartridge formats, and they do all sorts of weird things like splitting into 8 kilobyte banks. But cartridges basically deal with 8 kilobyte banks. Some of them are contiguous, some of them are separated. You'll never get more than 16 kilobytes at one time enabled on a cartridge. There's all sorts of weird things. So what we have to do with this is, if a file is larger than 8 kilobytes, which I don't think any of these are, but you have to kind of switch a bank out and read the next bank on the cartridge and so on. I use that system for creating the fact table in the cartridge header sort of file. Basically, all the data on the cartridge is all just stored contiguously. There's no gaps between data. So the code for, say, doors may start halfway through bank 7, directly after the code for the lasers. So the fact table just knows to load in this bank, copy from this particular point, then when it gets to the end of that bank, switch to the next bank, and so on and so on. That's why I made that cartridge loader, just to simplify that and get rid of some of the kind of complications of kind of compressing your data into the carts. There's no compression either in the cart data at the moment, and that's something I could add in. The only reason I haven't added compression in is because we're doing a lot of loading on the fly, and I don't want to add a compression delay to that as well. But certainly things like the intro and stuff like that could maybe be compressed down. The initial code, but it accounts for so little of what we're loading. It really doesn't matter that much. Although there is Antonio Savona's done the TS Crunch stuff, which might be fast enough to kind of not have a huge overhead, but I've not looked into it properly yet. Certainly, it's not needed for this anyway. Where do you need progression? Well, you might want to fit more than 512k on a cartridge. We're fine though. I mean, if you look at the memory output, so this is where we're up to at the moment. There is a static bank at the end here, but you can see there's a good just under 256. I'd say there's probably about 240 kilobytes left on the cartridge, which is plenty. So. I'm not even going to respond to that, Andy. GRM is no domain uses tiny minutes for about 260. Oh, okay. Anyway, we don't need it for this game. It's fine. It's actually advantageous for us not to, because even if the compression was quick, it would still be a couple of seconds. Or even if it was just like half a second, it's still half a second on the transition, which we'd try and avoid if we can. I'd say I've got to sort out the music. I've got to stop the music from glitching. I haven't noticed the music glitching when I was using Goat Tracker tunes, but now they may have been less complicated than the SID player one I've got. So I need to make sure that glitch doesn't remain in the game. So that's a whole thing I need to. It's a whole thing I need to do. So, all right. I say, I need to take a quick break. I'll be a couple of minutes. I'll be as quick as I can. I'll leave you with the quiz if it's not going to come up any second. It's not. Okay, cool. Right. I'll leave you with the quiz and stuff. I'll be back in a few minutes. Be right back. All right. I'm back. All right. Let's get some more alcohol in me. And then I'll work on the enemy. All right. So this is the thing we need to add. Add enemy sprite needs to be a new macro. Let's close some of this crap behind us now. Let's keep the stuff we need open. Screen macros. So again, we want to keep the macros as small as possible. So we want to turn as much of this into a method as possible so that it can be reused. Because the add mini sprite is obviously going to be repeated every time we do it. So we want to make this as small as possible and have a function that carries out the rest of the behavior. So this is how I'm doing it with func underscore like this. So let's separate this into two things and have a think about how this is going to work at the same time as we write these things. Now, obviously these functions here are going to, actually no, this doesn't need to be in there. This will be in here actually. So just be added. All right. So let's have a look. What do we need data-wise? Okay, so obviously we're going to need a max number of enemies. So so in the moment we've got 3 on this screen. So let's say it to 8. I don't think we're going to need more than 8, but let's set it to 8 to begin with. There's only 3 on this screen. So we need a next value, which is just going to tell us when we put the next one in what it's going to be. We don't need to reset these values because it's dynamic code. When you load this screen up, it's going to automatically pick these. The only thing we probably need to do is the screen is going to always try to add the enemy, but it's going to add it based on the enemy hit points that it finds, right? So we look at this one. If we add 3 sprites in, then this is what we're looking to do. We're looking to add these 3 sprites based on these 3 hit points. So my opinion is that these should always run, right? This macro needs to just automatically run. But what the first thing it should do is it should load this and see if it needs to actually add the sprite. So that's the very first thing we're going to do in the screen macro. We're going to take the value that's in, and it won't be that, it will be enemy HP address, because we're not passing the actual enemy hit points in, we're passing in a pointer to it. The reason why we're not passing the actual value in here is because this is a macro, so we can't actually change that value on the fly. That value needs to be an address. These values need to be basically static values. So passing in an address allows us to have a dynamic value by pointing to a value which is dynamic. So we're going to load that value. If it's not equal, we'll continue. Otherwise, we'll return. Actually, no, it will be branch of equal skip. We don't return because it's a macro. If we return here, we'd cause problems. Skip's just going to take us to the end of the macro. So if we do have hit points, then we need to store them in our enemy, right? So that value needs to be transferred to something in the add function. So we need to take the xpos and the ypos, the sprite pointer and the address, and pass them into this routine here. So we've got xpos and we've got ypos. Now, xpos is obviously going to be a sprite coordinate, or actually, it doesn't have to be a sprite coordinate. But let's make it. No, let's make it sprite coordinate because it's going to be animated and updated like that. So we'll have XMSB as well. So straight away, that's 3 registers taken if we pass them in the add here. So I think what we need to do is we need to add a value based on a couple of properties, return, and then set the position as well. So let's have a set pos. So add, we need hit points, and we need a sprite pointer. Sprite pointer like that. Don't need to spell it out completely. Right, that's enough for our basic thing. We will be adding behaviors into here as well, which is going to be something a little bit different. I need to figure out how we're best going to do that, but there will be some behaviors that we can add in here as well. It's probably going to be like an array of behaviors for each one, like maximum like 8 behaviors or something. Did I stop the break? I did stop the break. Okay, a bit more booze. And you can see how if we get this enemy done here, then the next screen is going to be pretty simple. It looks like there's a lot going on this screen, but actually in terms of what we need to do, there's only 2 additional things. There's these rockets here, which are straightforward. They just shoot up when the player is in the same vertical kind of, the same horizontal position as them. And these, again, they'll just be enemy behaviors. These will just be enemies. And then there's this turret here, which I'm not going to put as an enemy. This can be another turret. We've already got a turret class. We will basically make a version of the turret that does this, which just shoots straight across. The reason why this won't be an enemy is because it's actually in the map. There's no need for it to be an enemy. We can just reuse it as a map object, the same way we've done the turrets on the other screen. And then that makes this screen easy because everything in here is already done. Likewise here, there's some moving stuff in here, so there would be some enemies stuff here. I think it's like a mine that moves around, if I remember rightly. But yeah, you can see how the more of these kind of behaviors we can, the more things we complete, the easier each screen gets. A sprite pointers 8 or 16-bit. Sprite pointers are 8-bit. Half values. Well, for the X, no, we could send in half values here, but it's in terms of kind of animating it, we're still going to have the full value anyway. We might as well just store it as a full value. There's no huge benefit in this case of using a half value. We'd have to convert it anyway to get this value, because we don't want these things to move 2 pixels at a time. We want them to move quite smoothly. We do need to add like movement values into here. Maybe we have fractional values for these so they can move at different speeds, but we don't need half values, I don't think. Okay. So I think what we'll pass in is the hit point and sprite pointer here. So we'll pass the hit point in the accumulator, because we've already got it in the accumulator, and we'll pass in the sprite pointer in X. And we will return the enemy index in Y. So we need to grab the next value here. We can increment this one here. We'll still keep it in Y, and then we'll store accumulator at data.hp, Y, store X at sprite pointer, Y. And that's it for adding. And then set position is basically we'll already have the value in Y at this point. Oh, actually, no, because we need. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to give you 5 points, because I think for the sake of saving space, for saving calls here, we are gonna send in half values, but we will convert them into full values. So I think yeah, I'm going to give you a point for that, 5 points for that. So because you can't, I mean, I'm not sure you didn't look at it and think, oh, he's going to need more room to do this. But that's what we ended up needing. So even after saying, I don't care. I know. I've accepted the fact that whatever. I'm not gonna talk about it. Whatever. Let's just say my help has limits. Okay. So let's store the Y register first. Well, the X register in the Y. So this would be store X at data.ypos, Y. So we can do store X, Y. That's fine. We can't do store Y, X. But now we need to change these values. So we need to store the accumulator at data.xpos, Y, and then store God, getting used to this keyboard. And then I need to shift to the left that value. I don't know if you can do ASL, Y, actually. That's a good point. ASL, Y, and not be done. Great. Okay, so in that case, So we'll shift it first, and then that will put a carry flag in the. It'll set the carry flag if it's overflowed. Comma X. Yeah, you can only do comma X. I already looked that up. You've got delay. No points for that. So what I've done instead of doing it the other way is I've done the shift first, which sets the carry flag, stored the lower byte into XPOS. Then I've taken the value 0 and add 0 to it. If the carry flag is set, then this will become 1. Otherwise, it will be 0, and which sets the MSB correct. So, and there we go. We have the position set now as well. And that's all we need to actually add the enemy to the well, it adds it to the data structure. It doesn't add it to the screen yet. We will need an update to do that. So I'll do an update in here. And this will be where we do the visual update and any behaviors. So in here, we'll do a visual update, then we'll run the behaviors. The latency really builds up. I wonder if it's Virgin. It's probably the Virgin network. That 5G was bloody good. I've got to say, that 5G was awesome. Okay, right. So we've got everything to set the value now. So now we just need to call the routines here. So what's the first one we need to do? First one we need to do is let's just copy those lines like that. There we go. Easiest way, and then just delete the bits I don't need. So pass in that. So this should be enemies add. There we go. So you can see our basics macro is quite small. We do need to set these values here, but you can see it's about as small as it's going to get without us going overboard. So we can actually say here, because it's a macro. Oh no, we can't because it's dynamic. I was going to say if there is a hard-coded value, you could just not draw this code entirely, but you do need to put this in. So it does need this code. All right. Accumulator already has the HP, so that's fine. We don't need to do anything here, but we do need the pointer. So we're going to load X with. Don't know why I've called it S. Let me change that. That's annoying me. Let's make it consistent, eh? Okay, so load the accumulator with XPOS divided by 2. And load X with YPOS. You've seen less than 1 second lag to the broadcaster at all times. I guess it depends whose network you're on as well. Like, because I guess the routing, if you're on Virgin, you're probably going to get the best connection, right? Because you're on the same network as me. So I don't know what you're on, SP. Whereas Andy's on freaking space internet, so I mean, he's lucky he's not got like 2 weeks lag. Sky there. Okay. I mean, it should be pretty decent. I mean, it depends. I guess it also depends on the consistency of my connection as well. But if you are all getting different latency, then it's definitely not me. It's the network, isn't it? It's all about the peering, as Andy says. Whatever that means. I don't know what that means. Could put a bit of that in there. I've got a bit of raspberry lemonade. I'm topping my cider up with it so that it doesn't run out. So now it's strawberry, raspberry, and lime. Depends on routing to the Twitch. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's not from me to you. I guess it's it wouldn't matter if you're on Virgin in that case. It's just good point. It's not from me to you. It goes through Twitch, right? So okay, so that adds an enemy sprite, and this actually adds in. Now, the only other thing we probably need to do is have a sprite index here. And this is the multiplexer index. So once the sprite's been added, we then need to... I can't remember what it is now. Is it like get... Oh, God, I've done this somewhere. Where did I do this last? Aim turrets was the last place I did this. Here we go. In it. Here we go. Add sprite. Yeah, so we do need to add the sprite, and it returns the register in the X, and we need to store the Y as well when we do this. All right, so let's do that whole thing there. All right. So we need to store the Y. We need to add a sprite. We'll add it position 0, 0, and 28. That's absolutely fine. This is the color, which we'll set to 0, 1. And this is the actual sprite pointer itself. Again, doesn't matter what we do here. Empty sprite is fine. Actually, let's use is there a constant? Did we add a constant for empty sprite? Because I think we had. I know there's one in aim turret, but I wondered if there's one for the one that's in the sprite set. Because we do have one in the sprite set here. I don't know why it's there. It's a random place for it, but no, it doesn't like we do. All right, let me add one in. So, oh wait, where's that? That type in blank. Oh my god, where's? Right, fair enough. It started telling me that there was one, and then it disappeared. There, sprite pointer blank. There we go. Where's it getting that from? Hang on. Oh, it's in laser. All right. Maybe we don't have it. Maybe that's used for something else. I'm going to use it, and then if I need to add one in, I can add one in. It's quite easy to do. But I'll put one in here anyway. So we'll just start with a sprite, a blank sprite, and then because we can't. Actually, maybe add sprite allows you to pass in as the accumulator. Let's have a look at the screen macro for that. Add sprite frame. Give me frame. No, it doesn't. All right. Can I change that? No, it's fine. Well, we'll add it in like this. I don't want to complicate that. So we could just add it in like that, and then this becomes data sprite index, comma y. Yeah. And then we can We'll just set the sprite pointer on the. Oh no, we have the index, don't we? So we can do. We can just grab this value again from here. Set the first frame. Oh my god! Wait, what if I deleted that? Did I just type that on the wrong? Yeah, all right. There we go. So the color's set. The position is just got a default position for now, and we set the first frame. Then setting the position, we should set the actual. Well, actually, we don't need to set it here. We can do it in the update. That's fine. So we're just setting the values here. Then the update will actually set them. Okay, so in the update, we're going to take value y. We're going to start at 0. Increase y, compare y to data.next. Go, and then what do? We're going to grab we also need to load and then we can load store the accumulator at multiplexer data xpos, x, and this would be ypos, and this would be MSB. We won't set the frame at the moment, but there may be frame animations on some of these, but I don't think there is actually. So, oh, you networking talk. Fair enough. I know very little about networking. I know to hack networking, but I couldn't tell you the terms for everything. So, over the basic things. Okay, so now we're setting all the positions on an update loop now. So now all we need to do is call enemy update in our thing. So we've added an enemy sprite. We'll just add one in for now, and we'll set the values for those, and we'll do an update in here. So if we do, so let's have a look. Where do we actually need to update? I'm going to do entity script and fan update last. I'm going to do enemies, and I'm going to do doors kind of quite last as well because they're fast moving, so glitch is not a problem. So I'm going to do enemies first, actually. There we go. Right. So the only thing we're going to need is we're going to need an enemies clear to remove the sprites when we leave the screen. But for now, let's just get this working. Let's have a look at a position, an initial position for one of these things. So let's go back to the beginning of this screen when we first enter it, and let's take a look at where things are and just kind of guesstimate where they exist on the screen. So they started kind of between these two here. So if we have a look on the map, we have 3 here. So if we put it kind of here, I guess, see where that puts us. That puts us at around about 20 by 7. So 20 across, 7 down. Now this is in sprite space. So let's just put the coordinates in here. So that would equal 160 plus 24. So 184. Almost 7 times 8 is 56, plus 50 is 106. So it gives a position of 184, 106. Our sprite pointer is this one here, which is 0B. So this would be 4B. And that indeed is our hit points there. So we'll do a quick check to make sure this is working. And then once we know it's working, we'll change the number of hit points to see if it doesn't render the second time. The only thing I think is we might have to leave the screen and come back in. So we might have to start on the previous screen for this to trigger. I'm not sure, actually. No, because the door worked, didn't it? So maybe it will. There's certain things that I think passable areas is one that doesn't work until you leave the screen. Come back in. Okay, something didn't work. Sprite pointer. Okay. Enemies. Oh, data.sprite pointer. I missed that one. Decision Derby 2. Oh, those are a shit when they're like that. They really are. Enemy HP is not present on screen 024. So let's have a look. Screen 024 does have enemy HP. Wait. Oh, enemy HP, capital P. All right. See, there's also logic to everything as well now. Oh, StoreX doesn't support what I thought it did. Damn it. All right, fair enough. Oh, it's LoadX, Y, isn't it? But you can't do. Wait, seriously? I thought that was the one you could do. StoreX. Oh, no, you can't. Well, I never. I thought you could. You can do load Y. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. My brain is having some kind of Mandela moment. Mandela effect moment. I could have sworn you could do that. But that's fine. I just need to transfer X to the accumulator and do it that way instead. Not good when your brain is lying to you. Oh, we've got another one here. Oh, I thought I just did that one. Or did I not save the file? Maybe I didn't save the file. No. Or is there another one? Maybe there's another one like that. Oh, there is. All right. Okay, in that case, let's do this one first and then do this one. So, like I said, I'm going to try and get my computer set up to be able to play the consoles I have set up. I need to plug two consoles in, the Mega Drive and the Famicom. Everything else is set up to go, I think. Yeah, everything else is set up. Oh, the Jaguar. I need to set the Jaguar up as well, but that should be pretty easy. Yeah, everything else will work. So I'll try and get that set up next week, and I may swap out one of the either the Tuesday or the Thursday stream next week for a random gaming stream where we'll just pick one at random. I may figure out a way of doing like a voting system. Maybe we'll pick like 3 or 4 and do it that way. We might do Jackbox on Saturday again because I have been enjoying that. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so it has put one there. Perfect. We'll move it back. So it's kind of in how many characters is that? 1, 2. Okay, so if we move it back 8, it should be in the middle. That's kind of where I want it, in the middle. But yeah, we'll probably do Jackbox on Saturday after the stream. So, but to answer your question, I do believe Jackbox is on some of the other consoles as well. I think you can get it on PlayStation. Actually, I might be wrong though. I have to drink a lot of coffee on Saturday. Yeah, so it will probably be round about 12:30, 1 o'clock that we do it. We'll do the normal amount of code. So I'm kind of sticking to 8:30 till 12:30 as my code, or 8:30 till 12 during the week. But that gives me like 3.5 to 4 hours of code, and then and then we can jump onto a game afterwards. It won't be every week; it will just be the odd week here and there. I do want to get back into multiplayer gaming as well with Sean and with you guys on other stuff as well. So Saturday's your birthday. Oh well, you're going to be drunk then. So yeah, we'll have to try and keep you awake then, I guess. Oh, a raid, Hero Dev, who raided us last week, I believe, as well, if I remember rightly. Thank you very much for the raid, Hero Dev. Welcome along. Hope you're doing well. Have a glass of wine. Enjoy it. Sit down, take in the scenery. Enjoy the 6502 assembly. How's it going, Hero Dev? What have you been up to tonight? You've been what were you doing last time? I think you said you were doing oh, my memory is so bad. I can't remember what you said you were doing last time. I think it was Unity, wasn't it? When you doing some it was something like that. I can't remember. Computer specs, yeah. And all that computing power and the lovely, you can see it down there, the lovely little green box of power. And I'm using it to basically emulate the C64, something with a couple of thousand times less processing power than I need. Yeah, than I've got. Sorry. That's right. You were doing Oh wait, no. Was that what you were doing last time? Oh, I can't remember. I drink too much. I drink on these streams, and it's not good for my long-term memory. I think my brain, the only long-term shit I remember is assembly, and that's it. But anyway, welcome along, everybody. Welcome to everybody that's come along to Hero Dev. I'm Shan50k. I do Commodore assembly language programming, do a little bit of gaming here and there, but it's mostly programming. We've done a bit of Game Boy in the past, and I do want to do a bit of Mega Drive in the future. We did some Mega 65 last year. We'll be doing a bit more of that this year. But this year we're just focusing on Commodore 64 and working on our port of Cecconoid, which is a game for the Switch, which I'll show you now. So this is the Switch game. A game very much in the style of old 8-bit games, and that's why it was kind of really suitable for doing on the Commodore 64. Obviously, we have to do some limitations. Commodore 64 doesn't have the power to do all these particles, but this is what we're aiming to reproduce. And I think we've got a pretty decent approximation of it so far. This is what let me pause that because I need that video as well. So let me pause that. This is what we have so far. Well, one of the screens. I mean, you won't see everything because I'm not going to go through the whole game again, but C graphics compiler for CPUs. Nice. I really like shader language as well. I did a bit of HLSL and GLSL back in the day. Not done it for a while, but when I did it, I really enjoyed it. It was fun. I'm really big on my maths. I like my maths, so GLSL and HLSL are right on my street, to be honest. I did do a little bit, I would say, in the last 2 or 3 years for Babylon.js, so doing some WebGL based stuff using Microsoft's Babylon.js, and that has some GLSL stuff in it as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this is our version on the C64. It's running in the emulator, but it will run on real hardware as well. We're just in the process of adding some stuff into this screen here. It's slow going. We've been at this for 2 years, on and off. We're on episode 64, I believe. I think so. 64 by the thing. Oh, episode 64. Awesome. That's it. We finished now. We've reached 64. I mean, technically it's 65 because I didn't get the title right on one stream. So there's one stream that's 61A and 61. So a bit silly, but yeah, I do this most of the time. Yeah, I do it on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We do play some party games occasionally on Saturdays. Play a bit of Jackbox. That's a lot of fun, where everybody gets to join in and kind of you use your mobile phones to answer questions, and everybody has a good laugh on that. We do giveaways as well, but we've not done any this year. I'm still waiting on some kind of ideas on what to do on that, and really kind of figure out the budget. So I don't understand shader programming yet. Can you have no shaders? It seems like an expensive middleman. Well, the thing is, I think the way modern GPUs work, I think you kind of need shaders to do it. I think there are some basic primitives that you can do, but you're not going to get the quality without shaders. Unfortunately, even a basic shader like just a texture mapping shader, you still need a shader to translate a texture to a triangle. I may be wrong. I can't think of any built-in kind of intrinsic texture mapping functions. I don't think there are. I think you definitely still need to pass things to at least a vertex. Well, no, you'd still need a pixel shader as well. Yeah, I mean shaders can be very small as well. They can do very basic things. But anyway, that's kind of beyond the scope of this stream. So I'd love to get back into it, but I just don't have the time on top of everything else. So. Right, the sprite was there, but it was in the wrong place. Let me just run that again. Hopefully it should be in the right. Projecting a texture to a triangle is a difficult problem. Well, on the Mega 65 stream that we were doing kind of mode 7 kind of mapping where we take a texture and we transform it using assembly language into a 3D plane, if you like. And that was a lot of fun doing that with pure assembly, no C, just purely in assembly, just working out how we can rotate a texture using DMA and all sorts of little tricks to do it. And it kind of works. Something I want to go back to at some point. Just not had the time to. One thing I did was I overcommitted last year and I kind of did too much at once, and I left myself in a situation where I wasn't really. I was enjoying it, but I was struggling to focus properly on things. So this year is one game at a time. Get one thing done, onto the next. One thing done, onto the next. And the first thing on the list is Cecconoid because it's the one thing that I have got kind of. I wouldn't say. Well, it is. It's publisher commitments. I've committed to the publisher to get this done, so I'm going to get it done. And this is the first one in those steps. Okay, so we have this here. So the next step is to see if it disappears. If I turn the hit points down to 0, it should not appear. It shouldn't be there at all. So we'll do that, and then we'll add the other 2 in. Then once we've got them all in, we can work out how to move them around the screen. Thank you, Boney Montana, for the follow. Appreciate it. Cheers. If you're not drinking wine, you're missing out. I'm drinking a nice Malbec tonight, and I got a cider as well on the go. On Saturdays, I break out the vodka. I haven't had a messy stream for a while, actually. Maybe we need to have a messy stream. It's my birthday on the Tuesday, and I do have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off work. So maybe on the Tuesday, I might drink a bit heavier than I normally do. Will it be my birthday? Okay, something weird has gone on because I've completely disappeared now. I mean, I'm there, but I've disappeared. And that's because this is now kind of flashing. I think what's happening here is it's still assigning stuff in the screen. So let's have a look. So it's gone add enemy sprite. Okay, and that's our screen macro here. And this is our add enemy sprite. Oh, if we have no enemies. So if next is 0, we need to skip. Anosh, thank you for the follow. And FDA0, thank you for the follow as well. Hey, Cosmin, how's it going? What's the obsession with cider in the UK? Will the enemies also appear behind the bars? Well, yes, but they're not going to have the masking. Because the mask is for us to use the mask in multiple places, we'd need multiple mask sprites, so we can't do that. Luckily, though, the enemies are white and the background's white, so no matter what happens, it's just you may just see a little bit of it through the black dots in the dithering, but it's not a huge problem. They do flash red. That's a good point, actually. Well, in that case, you're going to see some red as they move behind, but they will move behind, though. That's the thing. Oh, they better had moved behind. I I think they should. I think by default the sprites are set to move behind. Well, we'll see. We'll see in a minute. That's a very good point, though, Andy. That's a very good point. They do flash red, so we shall see. All right. So the problem is here, if we have no sprites on the screen, if we have no enemies and the enemy update is called, it's still going to run this section here. It should be doing this comparison first. However, I don't... Let's think. Hang on. If I do... yeah, okay. Let's... Yeah, let's do it there. And then this would be... well, branch if not equal loop can stay the same because that was... It's never going to increase to 0. So that's fine. And we can just do branch equal exit like that. That should fix the problem. 58. No. It's not something we're even looking at yet, but you are right. But it's really just kind of... I'm not going to be fixing that. I just need to make sure they stay behind. But you will see a bit of red as they move behind it. So with the player, we do have this... We have this black sprite that gets put behind the scenery and in front of the player. So yeah, the sprites do go behind because otherwise the black sprite would appear on top. But with the enemies, you're going to see, when it goes behind this bit here, you're going to see the enemy through this section. It's an unfortunate side effect of the way the sprites, where we don't have layering. We're faking the effect of it, if it truly going behind, by putting that black sprite over the top, and moving up and down as we move. To make that work with enemies as well would be an absolutely horrific task to do. It would just take too long, and it would kill performance as well because we'd be moving multiple masks. In fact, in the case of these things, up to 4 masks, because you could be in a situation where you're here, an enemy's here, an enemy's here, and an enemy's here, and then you've got 4 masks. At the moment, the masks are not multiplexed. It's one of the static sprites. We'd have to start multiplexing, and then we'd have to deal with layering in the multiplex to ensure that the masks are always on the top. It's just not worth it at all. So we're not going to put that in. But you can see there, the sprite is no longer there because we've set its hit points to 0. So let's go ahead and add some more sprites in. Let's jump forward to that area and see where they spawn and add the other ones in. Okay. So can I go back a little bit? Isn't there like a mini... Or is it that one? It's that in it. Yeah, there we go. That's what we need. Wait, is this going backwards or forward? It feels like it's going forwards at the moment. That'll do. So actually, it's actually up and to the side of it. So let's move that other one up a little bit. So we'll move it back 8 and up another 8, and then we'll set these 2 up. I mean, it doesn't have to be spot on, but let's make it fairly close, and then it's. So we'll move it back 8, and we'll move it up 8 as well. And then we need 2 more sprites. So if we add these ones in, so this is enemy 1 and enemy 2. Let's set the hit points back on these ones, and we'll test the hit points for the other ones as well in a minute. We'll turn them off one at a time. Let's pick some positions for these. Okay, so these 2 are just kind of in the middle-ish here. This one's level with that one, so let's set that one to have the same Y pos. In fact, they've all got the same Y pos, so let's move this one down by 12. So the middle one we're going to move down by 12. So this one, we'll move this down to 110. And then we just need to set the X positions. Now, we can use our map here to work it out. So we're going to set one round about here, and we'll set one round about here. So using the trick of using the area kind of tool. So we'll set one at, we'll set 29 across, and we'll set this one to 35. So 29 and 35. Printed boom. Give it 10 minutes till he changes his mind. No, I'm not going to put it in. Couldn't the actual sprite being adapted by removing pixels that are behind from it? Yes, you could. Certainly on the player, that would be feasible, but it would be slow because you would have to. First of all, you'd have to calculate for any given 3 bytes because you're going to have, each row is going to be 3 bytes, right? You've got 3 bytes representing a row of pixels. You need to work out which 8 bits of that 3 bytes need removing. So you would have to. It's not just a case of clearing that byte. You'd have to clear the bottom 3 bits of that byte, the upper 5 bits of that byte. Then you'd have to do that for each one of the 21 rows or however many rows you have. So yes, can be done. Practical, no, not at all. Eben Jaeger, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the stream. I'm going to need more wine. Let me get some more wine. For the enemies, it gets a little bit more complex. I'll tell you in a second, Andy. They are going behind the chars, but I'll tell you why that won't just work. For the enemies, it gets more complex because they're all sharing the same screen pointer at the moment, the same sprite pointer at the moment. So in order for that to work, you would have to have a different sprite pointer for each sprite, for each enemy, and then you would have to follow until you fall off your chair. I'm going to empty this bottle now. There we go. Last glass of wine. I've only got so much alcohol anyway, so. Hey, Nicomo, thank you very much for the bits. So you can imagine with the enemies, you've now got to do that 3 times, 1 for each enemy. Worst case scenario, if each enemy is masked, and so that would be, let's say, 16 writes. 32 writes per sprite because it's more than likely going to cover 2 bytes rather than just 1 byte. There's a 1 in 8 chance that you only have to clear 1 byte. That's the fast case. The other 7 out of 8 cases are going to be work out which bits to mask on each one, clear them in 32 bytes for each sprite. So 3 sprites would be 96. It's a lot of work to do that. Regarding why we don't make this the sprites go behind the characters, they already do go behind the characters. But the problem is the black that we see in here is not a foreground color; it's just the background color. If we were using multicolor, you could kind of get around it. But if we use multicolor, we don't have the resolution, right? So you can't do it, unfortunately, which is why we have the mask sprite. And we just use some clever trickery to move the mask sprite with the player and know whether it's a 8 pixel wide or a 16 pixel wide or a bigger area. So yeah, they will move behind these, but you will see them through the gaps. Now, these gaps here, probably not too bad, right? Because it kind of looks like a connection. But the dithering that we see here, this kind of checkerboard pattern, you're going to see it through that as well. Unfortunately, there isn't a way around that, and sprites is really the only way we can do this in high res to do it properly with some kind of speed. It would be easier to do. It would be easier to add extra mask sprites than it would be to clear characters. Wait, no, stop trying to do that. Where are you going? Kat's trying to get in through the workshop door. She can't do it. She's done it once because the magnets weren't clicking right on the door, so she got through once, and now she thinks she can get through all the time, and she can't. I struggle to fucking open them doors now. In fact, I've stopped opening them. I go around all the time. It's too difficult. Really, Kat, yeah. Oh, well, they're worse than kids at the moment. Honestly, they drive me mad. I fell asleep on the couch just shortly after work. And one of them climbed on top of me, started doing the thing where they do that with the paws. But every single time they pushed like that, the claws went out, and just constantly doing that. It was horrible. Adapt graphics to not have dither into ease. That is not an option. No, it's fine. I mean, it's only going to be on a handful of enemies. It's not going to be an awful lot of them. And we lose some of the kind of wow factor of what the player does when it goes behind those. Because then the player might as well not have the mask. We could just get rid of the mask completely then. And it's fine. It's a small compromise to make, and we are going to have to make compromises. It's impossible for us to do this without. This is the difference between a Switch or a PC and the Commodore 64, unfortunately. All right, so 29 in the X in character mode is what's that? That's 160 plus 72, so it's 232. Plus the border, which is 24, so that becomes 266 here in the X, and that means this one is 240, 280 plus 24, so it's 304 on this one. Okay, right, so let's see if we see those on the screen now. Hopefully we should. Yeah, I mean, it is an unfortunate thing, and it's one of those things that once the game's done, if there are some cycles left over, and I very much doubt it, then maybe we can look at kind of adding a second mask in, maybe. But adding one for each enemy is just going to be impossible. But we could maybe add one in, and it just like it would kind of mask the first one to pass through. And if there more than one pass through, then it would just ignore any further masks. But I honestly, I don't think it's going to be that possible. The other solution, of course, is you have versions of these enemies. So I'm going to move these both back by 16. That one's kind of fine. I want to move these back by 16 each. Actually, I'm going to move this one back by 8 and that one by 16. You could have a number of different sprites for each enemy. So you could, instead of just having one sprite pointer, you could have like 16 sprite pointers, one for a gap in each one, and then just pick the right one based on it. That's a potential solution that would be faster. And with dynamic kind of sprite loading as well, it's potentially doable. But it's such a chunk of work for such a small payoff. I think at this moment it's not necessary to complete the game code. So we'll get the game code done first, and then we'll go back and see if there is more to be done around those things. Okay, what was I doing? I was going to move this one back 16, so move this to 250, sorry, and move this back 8, so we'll move this to 296. There we go. And now we need to add in collision. So collision should be pretty simple, I think. Oh, Warlock on the gift submission. Thank you very much, Warlock, for the gift sub. Let's go through these. Rascal Caster, MVG Zappy, JT Some Lucky, Azimuth 210, 21 of 21, Super Down, Captain Baines, Epic Neon Ninja. I always say your name wrong, Ninja Monkey. Every time. I always get Ninja and Neon mixed up. Epic Neon Ninja Monkey and Spandex Dandy. Thank you very, very much, Warlock. Appreciating it. And congratulations, everyone, for your gift subs. Did Turrican win? Just let them. I'm going to drink some alcohol while those alerts go off. Oh. Ooh, that went down funny. When did I start programming in ASM on the C64? I was very young. I was let's see. I started on the BBC Micro. Then I got Spectrum, and then I started coding on the C64. The C64 C had come out, so it was probably round about 86, 87, I would guess. So I was probably like 9 or 10, I think, when I started. But I've not coded for it constantly since then. I coded till I was about probably 16, 17, and then I moved on to other stuff, and I didn't look back for a long time. And it's only in the past maybe 4 or 5 years that I picked up. Let's see, where is it? 4 years. It was about 6 months before I released .cosmos that I got back into it. Which I can't remember when that was. I think it was 2019, I want to say. So I got back into it 2018. So it's about 4 years ago. And I got back into it, and I realized that with all the information online and all the stuff on Codebase 64 and stuff, that I could pick stuff up really, really quickly, and stuff just made sense. So things like interrupts never made sense to me when I was 10 years old. But now it just makes common sense to me now. It's all very obvious. Do I still have a 64? I have a couple. I have a bread bin somewhere which I haven't dug out yet. I've got a C64C which I also haven't dug out yet, but that needs I need a SID chip in it. And I think, I can't remember rightly, but I think it might need a CIA chip in it as well, but it's pretty much good to go. But the main machine that I do use is an Ultimate 64, which is a modern kind of motherboard FPGA recreation of the C64. It's very, very good. Gives you HDMI output. It's incredibly accurate. It does pretty much everything the original C64 did and more. It's got REU built in. It's got SD card built in. It's got Ethernet built into it. Multiple. You can have multiple SIDs in it as well, and you can put SIDs in it. It will take real SID chips as well. So it does have emulated SID chips in as well, but you can put real SIDs in it. And then I have the Mega 65 dev kit as well, which is capable of running some C64 stuff pretty decently, I would say. But I use the Ultimate more than anything. That's the one I have out all the time anyway. But I do keep a bread bin, and I do keep a C64C as kind of backup, because it's always good to have the original hardware, just in case there is something weird going on these. But to be honest, Vice is so good nowadays that you can code on this, and 99.999% of the time, if it runs in Vice, it's going to run on real hardware. There are a few tiny little things that don't quite work, but yeah. Once again, thank you, Warlock, for the gift subs. That's really, really generous of you, and I hope everything's all right down there in Australia. What time is it down there now? You must be let's see if I can get this right this time. I'm going to say 10 in the morning. There. You're at something around 8, I think, and many boards, cases, and keyboards. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the room to have more than that. 10:04 a.m. Yes, I got the time difference right for once. I get confused with time difference because it changes so much with the bloody summertime, daylight saving changes and stuff like that. I always can't figure it out. Plus, Australia has different time zones as well, so I'm always confusing it. Don't mention that place so much for me. I do have an Amiga as well. I have it. Is that the Amiga? Or is that the Commodore one? I think that's the 128 actually. So yeah, I have a C128 as well. So I have a Commodore 128. I barely use that though. And I do have an Amiga 500 as well with a Vampire V3 or whatever it is in it. Again, never use it though. I am going on a crazy mission collecting consoles at the moment, so that's where I kind of spend all my money at the moment on buying. Collect. I'm in that nice state now where I've just started collecting PlayStation games, and I'm in that nice position now where when I want to buy games, I can just buy bulk. I can just go on eBay, find somebody who's selling a chunk of bulk games, buy them, maybe get 1 or 2 duplicates, usually FIFA, sell them off. I mean, God knows how many copies of FIFA I've gone through in the past couple of weeks, but yeah, I'm in that nice position at the moment. I know it's going to get to a point where I've exhausted the cheap games from CEX. I've exhausted the common games that you're going to find in the bundle, and I have to buy kind of really odd things to really like I might have to buy an auction that has like 50 games in it and a console for the one rare game that's in there that I want, and then have to sell the 49 duplicate games and the console that I don't want. I'm not at that stage yet, thank God. And I'm not at the stage where the only games I've got left are the ultra rare stuff that you just can't find anywhere, that are going to be bid through the roof. So, do you all change times over there? Yeah. So we set our clocks forward in spring, backwards in spring, forward, fall back. So autumn we go back. Yeah, spring, forward, fall back. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're due. Yeah, we must be due soon. I don't know if it's this weekend or the end. Yeah, end of the month. That's it. Yeah, it's the last Sunday of the month, isn't it? That's right. Yeah. Anyway, let's crack on. So hopefully I've moved those things. Let's just load into that screen directly now. I don't think we need to test the door anymore. I think we're good on that. Let's find the game loop. Here we go. Set the screen start position. Hello, where are you? There you are. Yes, changes on March the 13th. Yeah. Isn't it right? I seem to remember somebody saying not every state follows daylight savings. Like there's some states that don't, which just blows my mind. I mean, it's difficult enough for you guys as it is. Oh, look at that! You can't shoot through the passable areas. Oh, can't get through the passable areas because they're not passable areas right now. Okay. Most states do. Okay. I seem to remember there was a few states that for some reason didn't. Yeah, I had a feeling there were some that didn't, and isn't there some that that don't, like, they, because of where they are in terms of kind of connectivity to other cities, they're not in the time zone you'd expect them to be in. They're like shifted across one and stuff. It sounds like a real complicated mess over there. I really wouldn't. Yeah, I think Arizona was the one people were talking about. Actually, it might have been Arizona that I'm thinking of. I kind of like the way China does it. China has the right sense in that the whole country is on the same time zone. It does mean that, you know, some places don't make any sense. Like it's daylight at 3 o'clock in the morning, sort of thing. But it kind of makes sense that you're all on the. You know, you can travel through China. You never have to set your watch once you've set it when you arrive there. But it is a massive country, so it is kind of crazy that you can travel through what is essentially 6 or 7 time zones and never have to change your. They all make sense. You're not questioned. Yeah. Yeah, Russia's on like 11 time zones, I think, something crazy like that. Okay, we do need to come into this screen, but I think we'll come into it from the bottom and we'll just set the start position. So so the bottom is going to be 24:34, so it's going to be 2-2. We need to set the player start position to be over the other side somewhere. Where is the player set actually? Is it here? Spawn. Oh no, it's at the top, isn't it? Yeah, we've got spawn. Yeah, here we go. I don't know why we keep changing these. These can be redone at any point. I don't even know what half of these mean anymore. So what they belong to. But let's move this over to like FF. That should be enough, hopefully. I'm not going to do too much longer. We're going to stop at 12 o'clock, so we'll just keep going on a moment. Some dudes pitched a CC to us Stranger Things game based on Manic Mansion style. Oh, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all. Sigilus Punk, thank you very much for the sub. I appreciate it. As ever. I'm going to drink cider there this time because I'm starting to feel quite pissed off that off the wine. Put quite a lot in. Atomic time, Jesus Christ. Too soon, Cosmin, too soon. Oh, yeah, so, okay. This is fine. I'm just going to move us up a little bit because we're stuck in the scenery. So we're just picking a good position to kind of to work from. So we can move in, because the problem is some of the things passable areas is one of the things that when you move into the screen, it initializes stuff. If you don't move into the screen, if you just spawn in that screen from the game start, it's just the game start. You can spawn on the screen, that's fine. But if you spawn on the screen on the game start, then it's a problem. So this is pretty good because I'm kind of locked down here, so we can see them bouncing off things. So that's pretty good. But first thing we need to do is make sure that they can be hit. At the moment, they cannot be hit. You can see they're not doing anything. We also need to make them flash as well. So we'll keep the flashing as a behavior, I think, because that's an easy behavior to add, and it will be quite small. That can be one of the first behaviors we use just to check that the behavior system is working. I think all things probably flash, actually. All enemies are probably going to flash. But what we definitely need to do is get this collision working. So we're going to go and take a look at the laser screen. And the reason we're going to take a look at the laser screen is because there is a sprite on there that we have to shoot. And this is always my go-to kind of point when it's bullets versus sprites to see what's going on. We've also got the aim turrets, which do something similar. Flashing via entity script. No, because it's not. It's a consistent behavior. It doesn't need to. The only time we need to do the entity script is if the behavior changes based on a irregular pattern. So something that can't be done. Something that can't just be done with a timer. It would have to be done with something else. And yeah, we do already use it for the door, so we'd have to change the way the door works in that case. No, timer will be absolutely fine on this. It's something that's going to be fairly common to the enemies. It might even be that every enemy has it. I can't remember. If it is, then we can just do that. But what we're going to have is in the enemies file here, there's going to be a list of kind of behaviors basically for each sprite. So it's probably going to be something along the lines of... let's see, how would be the best way to do this? If we did 8 behaviors per enemy maximum, then it would be something like this. And we just have 4. We'd align this so that we could just use the lower byte. So this would be like line 10 or something. I'd work it out exactly. I mean, I'm just kind of spitballing here at the moment, but and then these behaviors would be jump vectors basically into a behavioral script. So these would be loaded into a JSR call. The JSR would be called, and then it would return to whatever. The other way we could do it as well is we could push these behaviors onto the stack. So we could use. Oh no, we couldn't actually. No, we could. We could actually. That actually might be the easiest way to do it. So you take these behavior values, you push them onto the stack. It's at the bottom of the stack, and then you move the stack pointer down, and then you do an RTS, and then that will call the first one, and then when that RTS, it will call the next one. RTS. Then you don't have to keep doing a JSR. So it would probably be quicker and more efficient to do it that way. Than to constantly be doing it. But I'll have to have a think about it. I'm just going to block this out for now. But essentially, this is how it would work. This would be reset whenever you come in, so it would always be reset to 0. If a vector is 0, 0, it's the end of the behaviors, and you just exit. But I think using the stack here would be the most intelligent way to do this. I think because you would just basically push this data away until you hit a 0. Onto the stack until you hit 2 zeros onto the stack, and then it should, in theory, just call. You just do an RTS to trigger the behavior, and then it would basically would jump into the function that you're pointing to, keep jumping into the functions, and then the final one when it RTSs would jump back to return to your other function. So. I'll have a think about that. I'm probably not going to have time to do that tonight, but I'll have a think about how that works. But I think that's probably the safest way to do this, or at least the most efficient way to do it. So let's have a look at the switch on screen 11. So we've got a switch here. Let's have a look. Update. So the update. Oh, okay. So this is actually checking itself against the bullets. Okay, that's no good. So what we want to do is we want to look at the aim turrets. Actually, I think the aim turrets do the same thing, don't they? The aim turrets do have their own collision routine as well. So we're going to have to do something similar. Okay, that's fine. Aim the turret. Check remove. No, it's not that one. Update. Color flash. Check. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so we're going to have to do the same thing to check against the bullets. What we're checking. Okay, so this is a little bit trickier because now what we need to do is we're not checking the mace. We're checking. We want to check bullet. Actually, this is are we checking against? Oh, here we go. Check against bullets. Here we go. Check the collision versus bullet. Check versus player. Okay, if it was. So this is checking if the sprites hit the player, but we don't want that either. We want to know if the bullets you shoot hit the bullets that are fired, which we can do. We can shoot them, right? So, hey, how is that actually working then? Is a check for a behavior flag a simple JS5 for each behavior too slow? No, if we only had one behavior, but I want this system to be such that we can chain multiple behaviors together. So we can say add a bounce, add a change on hit, we can add up to 8 behaviors, and it will just combine them together. It will just run them in that order. Hey, cheeseburger goblins. That's a funny name. I like that. Yeah, so we want to be able to run up to 8 behaviors at once. That way, we don't have to create specific behaviors for each enemy. We can create more generic things and chain them together. So yes, you could have a check for a behavior flag in a simple JSR, but I think it's also beneficial to have multiple behaviors, and in that case, just pushing them onto the stack, moving the stack pointer, and using an RTS to chain the edges. It would be the same as doing a JSR, except you're doing it by setting the stack up, the return stack ahead of time. So that way you could also execute. But yes, exactly. You could do multiple things. So say you wanted it to move twice as fast, but just using the bounce thing. Yeah, you could do things like that. But I see the behavior more as like a decorator for the entity. So we're just adding a list of things that when it gets rendered, it also does these things, and that list is kind of up to 8 things. 8 should be plenty. The reason I pick 8 is because it's a nice align value. By having 8 behaviors or 8 kind of vectors here, 2 bytes each, it's 16 bytes, which means the address will be a something 0. If we align it to 0, so all we'd have to do is change that lower thing here. It should be easy to kind of convert an enemy number into an index into here. Although it doesn't really matter if we're just copying. In fact, even aligning won't really matter as long as max enemies never exceed 16 either. As long as the max enemies times the behavior list length never extends to 256, then that should be fine. Okay, right, let's see, what do we need to do? Okay, so we're going to need to do collision. Part of me thinks we need to be reusing some code here. We've already got, let's see, what have we got? We've got the one in the aim turret. But this is, so the bullets, I'm right in thinking if you shoot the aim turret, if you shoot the bullets, they disappear, right? You can shoot the bullets. So how are we removing those? I feel like I'm missing something. Bounce check. Grab chat and that's the way to do it. That is the way to do it. Okay. So what we do, instead of checking each bullet against the okay, that makes total sense. Okay. So what we're gonna do is instead of checking the bullet against the position, because what we'd have to do then is for every single bullet on the screen, we'd have to check it against the position of the sprite. Instead, what we're going to do, we're going to grab the top left position, the top left character position of the enemy sprite. So we're going to be looking at where it is in this grid, right? In this position here, like this. So it can be in any one of these 9 squares, right? So if you imagine that's the size of the sprite, but it can move, so it could become partially in there, partially in there, partially in there. So we're going to check 9 squares instead. Now, it seems like a lot, but we're checking 9 definite squares which can be indexed very easily versus nothing. We're just checking to see what's underneath. And if there is a character bullet underneath, then we have been hit. So if any of these squares contains a character bullet, we've been hit. And that's easy. That's easy for us to check on a per frame basis. That's going to be consistent against all enemies, so we can reuse that behavior. And also means we'll be grabbing the screen position of the sprite, which is going to be useful for the bounce algorithm as well. So we will do the collision first before we do the behaviors. That way we set the screen position up for each sprite. We will grab the screen position as a memory address for the screen, and we will store it in memory. Then we need to check comma 0, comma 1, comma 2, comma 40, comma 41, comma 42, comma 80, comma 81, comma 82. We can check those things. So that means in enemies, we're going to add screen values in here. So we'll have screen LSB. I've got to say, this keyboard is really good. I'm getting used to it quicker than I thought. I was worried it was going to take me a while to get used to, but I'm kind of getting used to it quite well. And it just feels really nice. Also, when I'm drunk, the writing's really big, so it's nice and easy to see. There's big, chunky Fisher-Price writing on it, so that's no fun. Yeah, it never works first time. That would be far too easy. Ooh. That's not a good feeling. Whew. All right. So in the update, if we need to update, we need to grab the screen position. Well, we need to do collision, right? It's an enemy, so we're definitely going to be grabbing that screen position. So do we do it in this loop? I think we should do it in this loop. I don't think we should not be using this this basic loop here. So let's break this loop into sections. Let's indent it so we can see what the sections are. Easy. Let's put this one. So this is render the sprite to the plexer. So this is just taking the sprite data and put it in the plexer. So this one here can be grab the sprite's top left screen address. Okay, so this one's a little bit more complicated. This is where we need to actually grab the screen address. Now, we're already doing this in AimTorrent, so I should just be able to use some of this this code. Let me just find out where it is. Here we go. Right, there's a bit of self mod going on here, but I should be able to dig through this a little bit. So let's just grab all of that. I feel like this should be something we can either macro or no. It's going to be slightly different in here. It's going to be different enough that macro and it's just going to make no sense. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use 0 page. Oh no, we're not, because we're going to put it in this screen data. Yeah, it's still different enough. Okay, so we're taking data MSB, data XPOS, blah blah blah. charx, yeah, that's fine. We're not even using that down here yet, but we will be using it. Comma Y is correct. Yep. That should be capital X because I'm very inconsistent with my capitalization. Got 4K on it, can read the text on your tabs now. Yeah, I could not have a 4K monitor anymore. I just couldn't do it. I mean, I definitely couldn't now because I'm sat like 2 meters away from it because I'm using a 4K TV instead. But I certainly couldn't. I certainly couldn't use like a 1080p monitor anymore. I could just about use my my Predator X34 because that's a very nice monitor. I mean, it is a beautiful, beautiful monitor. But it is only 3440 by 1440, but it is like ultra wide, and it's curved, and it's one of the nicest looking screens I've seen. The only screen that beats it is this TV. That's the only reason why I'm using the TV. Otherwise, I'd probably be using that again. I have got a 4K monitor which I use as my my stream kind of details thing over there. That is what is it? It's a Predator CG47 or something K, or 43K. So it's a 43-inch 4K monitor, but I scratched it. I've got a massive scratch probably about an inch long, kind of in the bottom left corner of the screen. There's probably about 6 inches from the left hand side, about an inch from the bottom. And it's just a big white streak across the thing that's always just going to be white. So I was so annoyed with that because it's like £1,000 that monitor. In fact, it's over £1,000. So now it's kind of been relegated to the guest monitor. So the guest PC or the streaming PC is the one that uses that. But it's good because it's big and I can see it from the other side of the room. So that's what I use. And my main PC uses the TV, but I have the other monitor, the Predator X34 as a backup if I need to sit on the thing. But this TV is awesome. I'm so happy with it. OLED is really the way to go. And looking after the screen is not as bad as I thought. You just need to run a screen cleaner now and again, and it's fine. Okay, so we're taking X position, yep, and XMSB. We're storing the result here, so we're getting the char pos, and that's stored in charx, which is. Wait, what's this? This is X, yeah. So that's actually not being used yet. Okay, and then we get the Y position. And we translate that and we grab these values from the table, and then this is where we store it, okay? And we store the result in char y. So we've got char x and char y are the two values. So what I need to do is I need to take this value here and I need to add char x to it. Because what I'm looking for is the exact screen row. The exact screen position, not just the row here. So I'm going to add that char x to it here. That means we don't need the char y at all. We don't need to store that. But we do need to move these screens to somewhere else. So this is actually going to be in data.screen lsb, y, and this is going to be data screen msb, y. So this is going to be, let's see, set screen address. Yeah. Get the screen location, grab the sprite's top left screen address. Right, okay, so now every frame we're grabbing that top left corner. It seems a little bit inefficient to do this, but we're only going to be doing it for 3 sprites. The reason why this is better than doing the other way, checking each bullet against the sprite, is because if you've got like 3-way shot and you're in the bottom corner, or in the middle of the left-hand side, and you shoot, you've got 3 bullets spreading out every time you can shoot. And if you shoot really fast, that could be 21, 24, it could be a lot of bullets. So doing 24 checks for those bullets against individual sprites is going to be hellish. Whereas this way, but also you'd have to do like subtract for the distance. It would be a nightmare. Whereas this way, what we do is we get some screen positions, and then we can just check these screen positions individually, which is pretty easy to do. So we'll do the collision check here. So check collision with bullets. So this sounds more complicated than it's really going to be. All we actually need to do here is we need to take this screen address. So we would be doing, take our and store this in a 0 page somewhere. So we can actually do it up here to save loading it again. Let's make a note here to say that. Indirect already stored ZP above. So we don't actually need to do the load here. So we'll just assume that we've already put it into the zero page, and we'll do that here. And we'll just pick a nice spot in zero page for this. A dual monitor in the moment. New one was the Samsung G7. Oh, how do you find the G7? I think is it the G7 I was looking at? It might have been the G7 I was looking at. Oh no, I don't think it was. I was looking at the HP Omen, but they're way too expensive. Like HP Omen is like $3,500 or something like that, or it was when I last looked at it. I don't know what they are now. It's a 65-inch G-Sync HDR 1000 monitor, but it's still LCD. Whereas I'm using an LG C1, which is OLED, and it's like, I think it cost me £1,600, I think, something like that. It's 65-inch. It's G-Sync, 120 hertz. It's incredibly good at HDR. I mean, it makes HDR look ridiculous compared to like an LCD screen. It's just on a different level completely. And it's a really good TV as well. I mean, it's incredibly thin as well. It's shockingly thin actually. When I took it out of the box, I was like, wait, that can't be it. Surely that can't be. I thought I was going to snap it. It's so thin. It's like, I'm just trying to explain how thin it is. You imagine a pull tab on a can. It's probably about twice the width of that, maybe 3 times at a push. But it's not much thicker than that. It's crazy good. 165 hertz is nice. I wouldn't mind a 165 hertz screen, but I'm very happy with 120 on a 65-inch LCD. And the great thing is, it works really well with the PlayStation. It's just absolutely, it's gorgeous. Playing PlayStation games on this monitor on this TV is just chef's kiss. It's beautiful. Well, that's Apple money. Well, no, because Apple, you pay $6,000 and you get a 32-inch screen, which is still LCD. It's still not OLED. All right, it's got more backlit zones than any other LCD I've ever seen, which is good. But it still doesn't compare to an OLED for HDR. So, although they are, I think is it 6K? I think the Cinema Pro screen. So it is high resolution, but you can get an 8K panel for less than 6K now. It's kind of stupid. The Apple screens are stupid, but they're color kind of calibrated for kind of creatives and stuff. So whatever, I've kind of given up now. If idiots want to spend $6,000 on something that's worth probably half that, then more power to them. I'll stick to getting twice as much for my money, thanks. Right. Okay, so we need a zero-page location for these. All right, I get sidetracked. Talking about, I like screens. Screens is a good topic. Good HDR for some, yeah, but I mean, I'm playing games on it as well, right? So playing GT7 at the moment, Gran Turismo 7. The HDR on that is just unbelievable. The realism of it just is oh god, it's amazing. It is really good. And I just wouldn't get it on a normal screen at all. But yeah, the only thing is the OLED does mean that the screen goes dark every now and again, so I have to keep opening another screen to make it think that there's something new to show. This is a bit frustrating, but okay, let's use one of these VECs now. Which one can we use? Screen temp VEC was a temporary one, so let's go with that one. Let's put enemy temp VEC in here. Enemy temp screen VEC. Could do about another 25 minutes and we'll stop. Yeah, the microtransactions are a bit shitty on GT7, to be honest. But I mean, I'm never going to play it like that. For somebody who's really into it but doesn't have the time, I can see why it's a good idea. There's nothing you can do with microtransactions that you can't do just by playing the game for a long time. I'm not into it enough to want to buy credits. And I can understand somebody who might not have, 15 hours in every day, like some kid sat in a basement with his Cheeto fingers. I can understand why somebody might want to be able to compete with them because they really love GT, but they're also, a grown up who works. That's fine. I didn't know they were selling cars. I thought it was just credits. But again, I don't really care. I'm enjoying the game as it is without microtransactions. If somebody wants to spend money, fine. It's not the worst microtransaction system in the world. I've seen a lot worse. To look at anything made by EA, for instance, or Ubisoft. It does prey on the stupid. It really does, because these people don't see the lack of value in these things. I mean, I guess you could argue it's the same with cryptocurrencies and stuff. These things have the value that people assign to them, and maybe owning that car makes people think it's worth $40. But to me, it's just a flag in a database. It's just a boolean in a database somewhere. It's just do you have that car, true or false? That's it. It's a database switch. It could be done in under a few milliseconds with a simple statement. And it's going to be fully automated, so nobody even has to do anything. We're talking literal fractions of a cent in order for them to do this. The cost to turn a flag on in a database must be hundreds of thousandths of a cent. And yet that's all it is. It's a flag in a database, and it just makes me angry that people pay this money for it. And the fact that they value it based on demand. They don't value it on the actual cost. They do it based on demand. So, like, if you want to transferring a character is different because that's like moving from one server to another. But say you want to change your name on a server, for instance, it's just changing a string in a database. That's literally all it is, changing a string in a database. Your name in people's friends list is not going to be in the database. It's not going to be a name. It's going to be an ID number. It's going to be a unique ID assigned to your character. Your name is just the name that's in that field for that unique ID. That's it. And yet they charge you a freaking fortune to stop trolling and bullying. Yeah, I guess. But then, how do you justify everything else, like a haircut? You can pay for haircuts. Well, no, haircuts is free now. I think there's all sorts of things you can pay for that are just simple switches in a database, and then they charge you a fortune for it. And it's because they prey on the stupid. It's because people do pay these fucking things. If you're addicted enough, the only way you can do that is by paying them money. They hold the magical keys to change that one bit in the database. Yeah, whatever. Sorry, deep breath. And we're back. Right, okay. Okay, so we need to check the enemy against some locations in memory. So we could store the locations in a table and read them in, but then we've got the overhead of reading them in. So we're gonna take a kind of unrolled approach to this. So it's allowed to change, yeah, without wanting money. Yeah, exactly. It's just a money grab. That's all it is. All right, so we're gonna load the Y with 0. Oh, there we go. See, this is where I failed because I'm still trying to figure out the keyboard. And this is why the microtransaction model is so... my cats are chasing each other. This is why the microtransaction model is so popular, because it's easy money. All you've got to do is make something that people want to play and then take away basic stuff from them and charge them basic stuff that you might want to do more than once. So buying a car, changing your name, changing your race, doing things like that. Just take those things away and then charge people for that. And your £40 sale of a game now becomes £140 because people are buying the game, and those that get addicted go, oh, well, I want this, that, and the other, and they spend £140. It's just an extension of DLC. DLC was the old version of microtransactions. They took a game, took half of the content out, called it DLC, and sold it to you for retail price 6 months later. oh, look what we've done. They have all this shit already made up front. 2 or 3 years up front. Spoken like a man who's worked in gambling. Yeah. But microtransactions are just the extension of that. They got sick of waiting 6 months to release a DLC, so they found a way to sell it you immediately on release. Games are getting less and less. The release day versions of the games have less and less in than they ever have done. All right. So what we want to know is, have we hit a bullet? So we need to find a simple way of checking against that. So we're going to open our base character set. So if we open project map base, there we go. So this is our base character set. These are our bullets here. So if the character is from E0 to E7, we've hit a bullet. So that's what we need to check. Oh no, actually that's a decal looking at that. Hang on. Up, down. Oh no, it's just E7 to E3. So if it's either of these, E0 to E3. So how do we know if it's E0 to E3? Is there a simple way we can check that? Let's have a look at E3 in terms of binary, right? So E3 is, what would it be? It would be, so that's E3. That's E0. So we need all of these bits set and any of these bits set. So we're checking to see if we AND it with this value. So if we AND it with E0, no, that's not going to do it, is it? It needs to. No, we need to AND it with. Yeah, okay, so we need to AND it with F. Okay, so we take a value like this. How can we figure out if it's equal to one of these? Well, we need this check here. We need these bits to equal this. So we need to AND it with this value to get these bits, and then we can check it against here. Worse than when the DLC was already on the DVD. Oh my god, yes. Patches I can live with. Yeah, Day Zero patches are a bit annoying. It's kind of proof that they ship things too early. I can kind of see that. What annoys me with Day Zero patches is when they absolutely know that they're not going to be shipping the entire game. So they go to gold early with something which is essentially just a small stub program which just downloads the entire game from the internet. That's the kind of Day Zero patch I hate, because they know that none of it is ready. So they go to gold and they just rush the last 3 months or whatever, and then you're just downloading the entire game. But as a normal Day Zero patch, if it's smaller than the game you've installed, I don't mind. The best game recently in the past 20 years or so, or since whenever, 15 years, 10, 15 years. This is you're angry about microtransactions, but you are using microtransactions. So thank you for your microtransactions to both of you. The best example of how a game should be done is No Man's Sky. They released a game that disappointed everybody on release, right? They could have quite easily just cut their losses and run. But what they did was they were really good, and every single update they have released for that since, and it's been like 5 years, 6 years, and probably more actually. No, it's been about 5 years, I think, I would say. 5 or 6 years. Every single release patch they've done for it, every single update, every single expansion, DLC has been completely free. Was it 2017? Yeah, it sounds about right. Thank you, JDog95433163 for the fly. I hope that's not your phone number. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is the absolute model of how games should be marketed. They did a really, really good version. And the thing is, the reason why they can do that is because they were a small company. Hello Games is a small company of only a few people. I think they're a bit bigger now, but they didn't have the massive kind of overheads that you have when you've got a huge studio with a huge turnaround, with absolutely terrible kind of retention of staff, a publisher breathing down your neck. Although they did kind of have Sony breathing down their neck a little bit. And I feel like they did release it. they did release it a bit too early, but they know that they did that and they made up for it, and they never once charged for any of the DLC. No other game I can think of in the past 10 years has done it like that. They've been really, really good with it. Actually, saying that, Battlefield 5, actually, I quite liked their live service approach. The game itself was kind of unpopular, but I kind of liked the way they released stuff on Battlefield 5, and it's a shame that they've kind of gone to shit now with what they've got. But okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to AND it with this value, and we're going to compare it against this value. So we're going to have to do this for every one of the 9 things. So it seems like a lot, but we're going to break out early. Now, what we could do is we could work our way through this in an order that would work out which is the most common. So the middle would be the most common, and then work our way out. But honestly, for now, it's absolutely fine. Yeah, Battlefield. I really liked Battlefield 5. I think it was a lot of fun. I did agree that the time to kill was a bit wrong at first. There were some issues with some netcode. There was a few things they had to do, but generally it was okay. So we'll have collide, and then we'll have no collide here, which is we skip over at the end. Okay, so we need to do this for every single one of the 9 things. So check versus 9 locations. So can we just do it like this, or can we also maybe, could we AND these values together? Maybe could we just all of these values together? Let's have a think about this, because if we can do this quicker, it'd be good. We've got about 15 minutes left, so I want to get this done in 15 minutes. So let's see. If we have a value that is 111, right? So this is something that's collidable, right? If we OR that with another value, what other values are? Everything else is either solid or see-through. It needs to just be these. These are particles, so it could be one of these. It could be other things. So it could be lower things. But if we had this and this, then yeah, so we can't OR them together. So what I'm thinking is if we had, so this is, for instance, this would be 110. This, for instance, would be this row of characters here. These are decals, so these would be 110 like that, right? So that's a decal. No, that's not a decal, sorry. That's a decal. This is a particle. So if you were to OR them together, you would get this value here. Which doesn't help us at all. If you know the difference between a decal and a bullet is irrelevant. So if you have collision, how do you know which bullet collided and needs to be removed? Good question. How are we doing that with the... I don't think we do remove it, actually. I think that is one of the things we did not do. I think that's one for next time. That's definitely one to think about. But yeah, that's a good point. I think what we can maybe do is flag a position as to be removed, and then in the bullet update or something like that, we can. I think we can work on it. I think we can find a way. But yeah, it shouldn't go, because I think actually what's happening in here is it goes through. All right, let's get it work, because I want to finish it before I go to bed, and then we can look at it on the next one. So we'll do it. What we'll do is let's just do 4 positions first, and then if that works, we can move on to doing the rest. So I'm just going to hard code these positions in for now, but we'll use increase Y and stuff when we Set it up. So what I'm trying to do is just check 4 positions first. Which will work for what we have, because what we have is things that are on character things. So 1 bullet kills multiple robot. No, Robotrons are different because Robotrons are characters. So by default, if a bullet hits a non-space character, it will disappear. So that's not. It will not kill multiple Robotrons. However, it would kill multiple turret sprites, multiple turret bullets at the moment. As it would be similar. Yeah, it's exactly the same. Actually, we're doing the same thing. With the turret bullets, it's a lot easier because we only have to check 1 character, because the thing is so small. We just have to check the character that it's in. We don't need to check anything more than that. But again, we don't remove the bullet. So at the moment, if you shoot a turret bullet, it will remove the turret bullet. If you shoot the turret itself is characters, so it disappears. If you're shooting characters, it's fine, but I think we do need a routine that removes a bullet based on its screen position, which is a bit trickier, but I think we can probably still manage it and make it efficient, I think. Because it's unlikely you're going to have 20 bullets removed at the same time. It's likely it's just going to be 1 bullet per frame. At worst, maybe 2 or 3 bullets per frame. So, turret bullets with sprites. So yeah, it does the same check as this. It's just checking 1 thing under the character, not 4. Here we have to check multiple because we need to check if they're all colliding or if any of them are colliding. Sorry. So if there's no collide, we jump to here. But if there is a collide, then what we'll do is we'll do something quite basic here. So first of all, I need to store the Y. Do we have a rest Y anywhere? No. Okay. So store Y and rest Y. Actually, hit the X register and we'll grab it back here. Because we're going to need it in 2 places here. If we do collide, then what do we want to do? For now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set the color to red. So we're just going to see if we've hit it, first of all. Right, index Y. Right, okay. So that should be enough to do the basic test. So yeah, I think we probably need a routine. So given a bullet's position, it goes into the bullet array and just cancels any bullet that's in there. Now that's probably going to have to be quite smart to make sure it doesn't do some. Oh, where's that? Have I done something wrong in enemies? Have I done a bullets in here somewhere? Really? I'm 95. Oh, okay. I didn't take the bullets off that one. There we go. I think this will be the last change. So if this goes red, then this is the last change for tonight. We'll carry on Thursday with this. It's pretty good. I've gone through about 2/3 of a bottle of wine and a can of cider. I'm telling you, it always helps with the more complicated code. It really does. I think it's because I stopped being so kind of. What's the word? I stopped being so worried about things and I just code freely. Doesn't mean you guys correct me a lot, which is good. Thank God you do, because this would be going on forever otherwise. Address is illegal. All right, so I need to. Oh yeah, of course it's going to be illegal. It's massive. That all right. sober. No. So don't do sober. Sober's rubbish. Okay, let's equal 71. So again, when it comes to doing things like collision, you always need to think about the quickest thing to check. So if you've got one player and 50 bullets, is it quicker to check what's underneath the player, or is it quicker to check the 50 bullets against the player? It's obviously quicker to check what's underneath the player. You don't want to check every bullet against the player. You'd be better off just saying, is there a bullet near the player? So check, you know, in case of Chars versus Sprites, obviously Sprite versus Sprites is a bit different, which is why we use hardware collision to do an initial check. So always think about what angle you kind of approach the data from. Yeah, there we go. That worked fine. Let's just see if that one works, and let's see if I can shoot through. Yeah. So that's kind of good. Let's do another check. I just want to check a few different kind of close calls and see how good it is. Now, there is going to be some inaccuracy with this. There is going to be the case where a bullet passes through. Actually, maybe what we need to do here is think about things so we only check 4. So we look at the position of a sprite. So it doesn't really matter if I'm on here or not, right? So if our sprite is dead on, dead in position like this, right? Then we definitely only need to check these 4, and checking these 4 will give us an exact collision. However, if the sprite is kind of partially in here, then now we've got 9 sprites. It's in the middle here, but it's also 4 pixels over the edge of all of these, right? Which means if we check all 9, then a bullet could fly over the top but actually hit it. Really, what we should be doing in that position is checking just the middle, right? And accepting that, maybe it is right. It's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. We could also take the... oh, no, because we've got single bullet fire, double bullet fire. Actually, a single bullet... no, it doesn't matter, because a single bullet... Let me just add one in here. I cannot save this file, whatever I do. So you imagine a single bullet. A single bullet's in the middle like this, right? So if we put this in not there, if we put it in here, then even if the sprite itself is only taking up 4 pixels on this side, it's still getting hit by that. It's only when it's like 1 pixel in here that it would be a problem. So I think if with a bit of clever kind of maths, we can work out whether it's 1 or 4. It should be like if it's 2 pixels or less into an area, then you just use the 4. The 2 characters below it. So in other words, if it's these 2 pixels in here, then you just use these 4. Then you've got a kind of 2 pixel overlap here through space and 2 pixels where you're hitting it here. If it's 4 or more, then you use these 2. I don't know. Yeah, I need to think about that. I need to have a think about that to make it out. We'll see how it runs. We'll do it with 9. We'll see how it runs. And if it feels wrong, then we can look at kind of tweaking that to be a little bit more accurate. But the fact that we're shooting always on a character grid, so our bullets are always going to be at the very least in the middle. And once you get 2 bullets, they spread the whole thing. So maybe it feels all right. I don't know. At least it won't feel too far off. And as far as I can tell, this is working fine now. So let's do just one more check. I just want to try and shoot kind of very close to the edge and see if I can kind of skim the bullet past. Oh, damn it. The persistence data doing its job there. Yeah, so you can see there I'm skimming it past a little bit. Oh, no, let's hit it straight. Okay. So let's... Yeah, that hits it straight on. I think it's about right, actually. I don't see any issue with this. The issue is going to. I mean, it is because it's always sticking to a character, so you can't do. You can do second check when you have hit using a sprite and do sprite collision. Can't you do? Oh, actually, yes, we could do sprite to character collision, which would make it a bit more. That's not a bad idea, actually. I'm going to give you 5 points for that suggestion. I'm going to write that suggestion down. So we will do. You mean use hardware, right? So you do hardware check, and if there is a hardware collision with the sprite that you've got, then you do this check. So you still grab the screen address because we need that. We need that to do the bounce and stuff. But what you do is you only do this bit here, and I will put a note in here to say that. I think that's what you mean, right? I think that's what you mean. If there is a hardware collision between our enemy sprite and the BG, then do additional collision checks. Yeah, hardware check. Yeah, so that's what we'll do on the next stream then. So we'll add a hardware collision check in for that sprite. Easy enough to do. We can just store. In fact, we've already got the sprite collision stored somewhere, I believe. If not, it's easy enough to do. Then we just check that sprite versus background. If that sprite is touching a background piece, it will be pixel accurate. If it is, it could be a particle. There's no denying it could be a particle. It could be the it could be these passable areas as well. So it could be things like that. But what it will do is it will reduce the it will reduce the chances of it being an inaccurate kind of bullet hit. So the accuracy will get better for that. But I think that's it. I think that's all we're going to do for tonight. We'll do some more on Thursday. I'm going to go and find someone to raid now. Let me just grab the. Who to raid? Oh, we can raid Hayes, actually. Hayes is on, isn't he? He's doing Amiga stuff. Yeah, let's go and raid Hayes. All right, let me bring up the right window. Start raid on Hayes. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll see you guys on Thursday. Thank you very much, everyone, for the subs from Warlock and everyone else who subbed, and for the bits and everything. And I'll see you all on Thursday. I'm out of alcohol. I have to end the stream. There is no choice. I have to end. All right. Take care, guys. See you all on Thursday. Cheerio.